right? So had we written that question, what began as a fight for religion? लिखा था क्वेश्चन? नहीं लिखा था तो एक क्वेश्चन लिख लीजिए. Sir, explain doctrine of lapse. Doctrine, it means some kind of like a policy statement, right? Lapse, it means something which comes to an end, right? So therefore, the privileges of the Indian rulers, they are coming to an end if certain conditions are met. The condition is that if there is not a legal heir, that is, if there is not a biological son, and the ruler has died, so therefore, after that, the privileges, like the privileges to rule, for example, it will come to an end, and the territory, it can be annexed, or the Indian state, it can be annexed by the Britishers. Some other things, they can also come to lapse. For example, after the Third Anglo-Maratha War, Maharashtra was annexed, and Peshwa Bajirao II was pensioned off. Right now, that was a privilege. Pension was a privilege. Once he did not have a biological son, Nana Sahib was a adopted son of Bajirao II. So therefore, because he was an adopted son, and once Bajirao II died, after that the pension also lapsed. Right. So therefore, doctrine of lapse, it is not simply limited to what you call as taking over of territory. It is basically meaning that the privileges of that particular Indian state are coming to lapse, or the rulers are coming to lapse if there is not a biological son. That includes everything, right, from pension to rule, right? So therefore, that is the whole idea of doctrine of lapse. ठीक है, कि अगर आपको बायोलॉजिकल सन नहीं है तो आपके प्रिविलेजेस खत्म हो जाएंगे. उसमें से एक प्रिविलेज जैसे हमने बताया कि पेंशन का हो गया, दूसरा प्रिविलेज फॉर एग्जांपल प्रिविलेज टू रूल, मतलब सारे के सारे आपके अधिकार चले जाएंगे, जिसमें आपका रूल करने का भी अधिकार है, उसमें पेंशन का भी अधिकार है, सारी चीजें उसके अंदर आ जाती हैं. ठीक है, बट यूजुअली बुक्स में सिर्फ इन द बुक्स इट इज ओनली मेंशन दैट टेरिटरीज वर अनेक्स्ड एज पर डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ लैप्स. बट अगर हम थोड़ा सा ध्यान से देखें और 1857 रिवोल्ट को हम देखते हैं तो नाना साहिब का जो ग्रीवेंस था, दैट हिज पेंशन वाज स्टॉप्ड. Why? Because he was not a biological son, he was an adopted son. After death of Bajirao II, his pension was stopped. Why? Because doctrine of lapse, it is in operation, right? उस प्रकार से, right? What is the difference between doctrine of lapse and subsidy alliance? Well, subsidy alliance, it is basically a treaty between two people, right? It is a treaty between the Indian ruler and the East India Company, right? Whereby the Indian ruler has certain rights, and the right is that the Britishers, they will not interfere in the internal affairs, right? Doctrine of lapse is a policy. One is a treaty, another is a policy, right? Subsidy alliance is also a policy, fine, but that policy is implemented through a treaty, right? When you say doctrine of lapse is like a view of the Britishers that the treaty that we had signed under the subsidy alliance, the rights of the Indian ruler, that is, he will be a sovereign ruler. Those rights, they will come to an end, they will come to lapse if there is not a biological son. Those rights will come to an end, or they will lapse if he does not have a biological son. So doctrine of lapse in a way ends the subsidy alliance and leads to annexation of the Indian state by the Britishers. Doctrine of lapse ends the subsidy alliance because an alliance is between two partners, right? Two sovereign entities, right? Yes, one is a alliance is like this. Subsidy alliance is like this. Yes, to a subordinate alliance, but still it is an alliance. एक alliance में किसी भी दो व्यक्तियों के कुछ अधिकार होते हैं, right? Once you say doctrine of lapse, that means this particular alliance is lapsing, and now the Indian ruler or the Indian state does not have any rights, right? And therefore he can be taken over as well. So it is doctrine of lapse in a way ends the subsidy alliance and converts that subsidy alliance into proper annexation. Right, it clears the path for annexation, right? So write down next question. Write down, Hanji. Yeah. No, we'll be discussing them in detail. Proper one class will go. One class will go into Regulating Act of 1773, Pitt India Act of, until your charter, all the charter acts, and we'll do it in detail. We'll do it. Yeah. Yeah, it was not finalized. Well, it was negotiated. It was not finalized. Google पे जाओगे, search करोगे. But it was not ratified. It was finally given up. ऑफिशियल आप किस चीज को कहते हैं? मतलब it was ultimately reneged, it was ultimately not accepted, हाँ मतलब वो cancel हो गया, right? तो उस प्रकार से है, ठीक है. So write down a question. What began as a fight for religion? ये लिखा था क्या हमने question? सबसे पहला देखिए. What began as a fight for religion? What began as a fight for religion ended as war of independence. What began as a fight for religion ended as a war of independence. What began as a fight for religion ended as a war of independence. As there is no doubt, as there is no doubt, as there is no doubt that rebels wanted to get rid of, as there is no doubt that rebels wanted to get rid of, as there is no doubt that rebels wanted to get rid of alien government, wanted to get rid of alien government and restore the old order, and restore the old order of which King of Delhi, of which King of Delhi was rightful representative, of which King of Delhi was rightful representative. Full stop. Do you support this view? Do you support this view? So in this particular question, the question is simply, the structure is very simple. Whenever any event takes place, especially whenever any war takes place, right? So therefore there will be some long-term reasons, right? There will be some short-term reasons, and there will be some trigger, right? Trigger that actually ignited the things, right? So therefore when they are saying that what began as a fight for religion, that means the question is saying that the trigger was religious grievances. And it is a war of independence. That means the question wants us to know that what were the long-term grievances and the long-term goal of the, or what was the goal of the 1857 revolt, right? As there is no doubt that rebels wanted to get rid of alien government, right? So therefore that is the common goal of everyone, was to end the East India Company's rule and establish the rule of King of Delhi, who was considered as the rightful representative of the things as they existed before the Britishers, right? So therefore this is basically the whole theme of the question, and we will be able to answer this question after this particular class, right? So that is what is there, right? So proper question will be there, that whether this 1857 revolt was based on modern nationalism or it was not based on modern nationalism. That is, was it a war of independence or it was not a war of independence? And we'll be writing answer to that particular question as well, right? Right. So let us begin. So जितना अभी तक डिस्कस किया उसको डिक्टेट कर लेते हैं. So write down first point. It is not answer to this question, it is a proper, like, topic wise we are moving ahead. 29th March 1857, 29th March 1857, 29th March 1857, dash Mangal Pandey, Mangal Pandey, Mangal Pandey at Barrackpur, Barrackpur, Mangal Pandey at Barrackpur near Calcutta, Mangal Pandey at Barrackpur near Calcutta fired, Mangal Pandey at Barrackpur near Calcutta fired on European officers, fired on European officers and fellow sepoys, refused to arrest him, and fellow sepoys refused to arrest, and fellow sepoys refused to arrest him. Full stop. In April, they were hanged. 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 Full stop. On 10th May, Meerut sepoys revolted. On 10th May, Meerut sepoys mutinied. On 10th May, Meerut sepoys mutinied. Plus 11th May, dash they reached Delhi. 11th May dash they reached Delhi. 11th May dash they reached Delhi and declared B.S. Zafar 3757 and declared B.S. Zafar 3757 Bahadur Shah Zafar 3757 1837-57 and declared B.S. Zafar ZAFAR 3757 as Emperor of Hindustan, as Emperor of Hindustan. Plus then revolt spread, to other cantonments. Revolt spread to other cantonments. Revolt spread to other cantonments in northwest provinces and Awadh. Other cantonments in northwest provinces and Awadh. Northwest provinces and Awadh. What is northwest province? Remember the half of Awadh which was taken over in the year 1801 when SA was signed. So therefore that is what it forms as the northwest provinces. And when you say Awadh, it is the balance of Awadh which is there, right? Which was annexed in 1856, right? So this is that northwest provinces, right? So revolt spread to rest of cantonments or other cantonments in northwest provinces and Awadh by end of May. By end of May is equal to Sepoy Mutiny. Next line is equal to Sepoy Mutiny. Next line civil rebellion और civil uprising, कुछ भी लिख सकते हैं. Civil rebellion, civil uprising. Now civil rebellion / uprising. Now civil population joined. Now civil population joined. Now civil population joined. And British rule collapsed. And British rule collapsed. And British rule collapsed. Dash, huh? Revolt, rebellion, they are the same thing. Revolt, rebellion, uprisings. What is the difference between mutiny and revolt? So, mutiny is usually considered as for when the sepoys are revolting, that is called mutiny. Revolt, it can be by the people also, it can be by non-military factions as well. So, when you say mutiny, it is by the sepoys, right? And usually mutiny it is for service related grievances, usually if you go into detail. So therefore some people they say who are more into the nationalistic narrative, they say that mutiny नहीं बोलना चाहिए, इसको a war of independence बोलना चाहिए. Mutiny एक छोटा चीज है. Mutiny is that sepoys they have revolted because of their some personal grievances. We should call it something big. We should call it war of independence. That question will deal soon, right? So earlier we had mentioned that 1857 revolt is equal to Sepoy mutiny plus civil uprising or civil rebellion. That thing we have established by these statements. What is the formula of 1857 revolt? It is equal to Sepoy mutiny plus civil rebellion, right? So therefore just now we have established that civil rebellion has taken place, and in the sentence before we have established the Sepoy mutiny has taken place. So therefore 1857 revolt, in brackets you can write down 1857 revolt. This thing you should never forget because it is very very important for the structure. इसी हिसाब से हमने structure भी बनाया था last class में. 1857 revolt is equal to your Sepoy mutiny plus civil uprising or civil rebellion. So therefore the civilians they are getting the confidence that we should revolt once the sepoys they mutiny, and that's why we wrote down that now the civilian joined in and the British rule collapsed, right? British rule collapsed. Dash from 11th May to 20th September, 11th May dash 20th September 1857, 11th May dash 20th September 1857 in Delhi, and overall till spring of 1858. 11th May to 20th September 1857 Delhi, in Delhi, and overall till spring of 1858. That means Delhi was not under the control of the Britishers until 20th of September of your 1857. Siege of Delhi was there, and after that Delhi started falling, right? So Delhi was under our control until September 1857, and in different parts of India there were these revolts which were taking place until spring of 1858. Right, so therefore in general we can say that the revolt of 1857, it is continuing from your May 1857 roughly till spring of 1858. Spring कितना हुआ, कौन सा मार्च माना जाएगा, ठीक है ना, मार्च अप्रैल देख लें, अपन का ज्योग्राफी बहुत वीक है, स्प्रिंग विंग भी नहीं पता उनको क्या होता है स्प्रिंग, बताओ कौन सा मंथ होता है स्प्रिंग, मार्च ही होता है, ठीक है चलो नेक्स्ट. There was huge amount of violence. There was huge amount of violence. There was huge amount of violence. Civil means normal people. Civil का मानसी हम लास्ट क्लास में अच्छे से समझा चुके हैं. Civil का क्या मीनिंग है? Civil can be divided into three parts. Those who are leaders, that is the ex-rulers, nawabs, nobility, zamindars, peasants, artisans. These are the civilians, right? There was huge amount of violence. There was huge amount of violence. And British monopoly over violence was broken. There was huge amount of violence and British monopoly over violence was broken. And British monopoly over violence was broken. Next heading, write down reasons for Sepoy mutiny. Reasons for Sepoy mutiny. First sub point. Reasons for Sepoy mutiny. First sub point. Service related. Service related. Dash. Service related dash. Racial discrimination. Service related dash. Racial discrimination between Indian sepoys and European sepoys. Racial discrimination between Indian sepoys and European sepoys. कैसे कैसे common sensically racial discrimination can take place? For example, salaries. European sepoys, they can be given better salaries. Then once you retire, they can be given pension. Before retiring, there will be promotion. So there can be racial discrimination in proportion. That is, Indians, they are not allowed to get promoted, whereas the European sepoys, they are allowed to get promoted, right? So that is the racial discrimination. Better food can be given to the Europeans and relatively bad food can be given to the Indians. This kind of racial discrimination, right? So write down racial discrimination between Indian sepoys and European sepoys in salaries and pensions. In salaries and pensions. Plus highest post. Indian sepoy could reach. Highest post Indian sepoy could reach was Subedar. Highest post Indian sepoy could reach was Subedar. That gave Subedar. That gave just 60-70 rupees a month. That gave 60-70 rupees a month. European sepoy, that means British. It means English plus Scottish plus Irish. Right, so at times you call British as European also. Why? Because there are three races which are present there. Right, Scottish are there, Irish are there, English are there. So therefore at times आप शब्द European भी इस्तेमाल कर लेते हो instead of using the word British. And because that word is being used in the mainstream books, so that's why मैं deliberately introduce करता हूँ ताकि आप confuse हो, and your confusion then gets resolved. That here European does not mean French, European does not mean German, European means British. Why? British is equal to Scottish plus Irish plus English. And when multiple nationalities are present, so you will call them European. This kind of scenario, right? 60, just that gave just 60-70 rupees a month. 60-70 rupees a month. Parvez is saying repeat last line. आप भेज देगा last line. ठीक है. Right? Plus racist slurs. Plus racist slurs. Slurs या remarks कुछ भी आप कह सकते हो. Racist remarks / slurs. Example called pigs / sewers. Example called pigs / sewers. Racist slurs / remarks. Example called pigs / sewer. Right? Next line. To compensate. Next line. To compensate for high war expenditure. To compensate for high war expenditure of past. To compensate for high war expenditure of past. To compensate for high war expenditure of past, salaries were decreased. Salaries decreased. To compensate for high war expenditure of past, salaries decreased. Plus allowance for service outside region. Allowance for service outside region. Allowance for service outside region was ended. Allowance for service outside region was ended. Allowance is like some extra money. So I'm getting a salary, but because I'm serving outside of my region, so therefore per day I'll be getting some extra amount of money. Maybe 10 rupees a day I'll be getting, right? Or maybe 5 rupees a day I'll be getting allowance, right? So that was ended, right? So therefore usually when you are made to do some extra work, at times the government gives you per day allowance. Example, if you're traveling abroad, and because the things which are the things abroad are costlier, so therefore apart from your normal salary you also get per day allowance, right? For example, if you're traveling to United States of America, so at present the government gives $100 a day, right? So therefore if you have a week, right, so $700, right? So उस प्रकार से रहता है. In 1856 was ended in 1856 was ended in 1856. Allowance outside their region for service outside their region was ended in 1856, right? Next point, socio-religious dash, socio-religious dash, socio-religious dash. These are the grievances of the spies. One sub point is what you call as your service related, जिसके अंदर racial discrimination आ गया. दूसरा service related है कि भाई आपका जो है salaries कम कर दिया गया. अब service related तो नहीं, अब थोड़ा सा grievances of spies but which are socio-religious. Right, so this point we had discussed earlier that the Britishers, they wanted to establish a new uniform culture, right? So as to decrease the loyalty to their caste and to increase the loyalty to the employer, right? And plus the reason was that now the army was very heterogeneous, right? So therefore in general they applied this policy that will not be following caste customs. So you want to wear a janayu, sorry, we cannot allow. You want to keep a beard, you are a Muslim, sorry, we will not allow it. You have particular food preference, sorry, we are not going to allow it. You say that you are upper caste Hindu and if you travel abroad then you will have loss of caste and you are not going to travel, sorry, that is not allowed. You will be punished. You can also be dismissed from service if you refuse an order to serve outside of your region. Right, so therefore these kind of things are being brought in and these will lead to socio-religious grievances. And last में trigger point आएगा the rumors that ATA is having cow bone dust and pig bone dust and the new Enfield rifle उसका जो cartridge है it is having the pig fat and the cow fat. Right, so these are their socio-religious grievances. Plus Christian missionaries are also present after 1813 Charter Act. Christian missionaries are present all across India. They are present in cantonments also, right? So therefore the sepoys, they feel that by making me a lesser Hindu, by making me a lesser Muslim, right, by kaise, for example, by sending me abroad, by making me have chicken, by making me have pig fat, etc. First they want to break my ties from my religion, and because I need God in my life, because the society is very, very religious in those times, so therefore they will introduce a new God to me that is called Christianity. Right, and therefore my religion is under threat. This kind of scenario it is going to come in, right? So if I have to convert you, first I need to break your ties from the present religion and then I need to move you towards what you call as your new religion, right? This kind of scenario. But if I am an atheist, then I want to break your ties with God, with any kind of God forever. That is called atheism, right? Atheism is first step के बाद कुछ नहीं. That is just end your ties with your present religion and that's it. That is atheism, not believing in any kind of God, right? So conversion has two-step process. First, to make you a lesser Hindu, lesser Muslim, and then the second point that you convert. We are talking in that context of 1857. So write down. Initially British recruited sepoys. Initially British recruited sepoys. Initially British recruited sepoys. So Ridhi is asking, so salaries and allowances were decreased only for the Indians or for the Europeans too? Well, it has not been mentioned in the books, but from the common sense, it must be decreased for all, right? To have some justification, and the way British function on the basis of some kind of rule of law, right? So they would always want to justify things, right? So therefore, it must have been, well, I'm thinking from commonsensical perspective, it must have been decreased for everyone. But because the salaries of Europeans were much better, so it will not pinch them as it pinches the other person. Right? So if your salary is just 10,000 rupees and then I decrease 500 rupees, it will pain. But if your salary is 50,000 rupees and then I decrease 500 rupees, it will not pain. Right? So therefore that kind of scenario would be there. So grievance is of Indians, and here we are focusing on the Indian sepoys. Right? So write down. Initially British recruited sepoys as per Indian tradition. As per Indian tradition. Therefore, as per Indian tradition, therefore upper castes recruited. Therefore upper castes were recruited. Therefore upper castes were recruited. Plus in cantonments, religious practices respected. Plus in cantonments, religious practices were respected. Religious practices were respected. Right? Full stop. However, as British Empire expanded, in India, as British Empire expanded in India, comma, EIC Army, as British Empire expanded in India, comma, EIC Army became more heterogeneous. EIC Army became more heterogeneous. EIC Army became more heterogeneous as different communities joined. As different communities joined army. As different communities joined army. As different communities joined army. And now it was tough for British. And now it was tough for British. As different communities joined army, and now it was tough for British. Now it was tough for British to respect caste customs. To respect caste customs and religious practices. Caste customs and religious practices of upper castes. Caste customs and religious practices of upper castes. Right? So idea here is simple. So as subsidiary alliances are being signed, so EIC would be required to maintain an army for the state with which the subsidiary alliance has been signed. Accordingly, EIC would have to do some additional recruitment from different places. Plus, as annexations are taking place, so if any area is annexed, the people of that particular area, they would also become part of EIC army. They may be posted within that state, or most probably they will be posted to some outside region. The logic is that the ruler which I removed should not be able to rise again. Right? तो ये लोग क्या करते थे, अगर आप दिमाग से अगर सोचो, मैंने आपको अनेक्स किया, दो काम करते थे ये लोग. ए, आपकी आर्मी डिसबैंड करेंगे या फिर अपनी आर्मी स्टेशन करेंगे. मैं जो अपनी आर्मी स्टेशन करूंगा, द आर्मी विच आई विल बी स्टेशनिंग इन योर स्टेट, दैट आर्मी विल नॉट बी हैविंग द पीपल ऑफ योर स्टेट. Right? I'll bring people from outside so that they are not loyal to you. So tomorrow you are not able to rise against me. Right? So that is the political logic. That's why who revolted in the 1857 rule? Bengal army. But in the Bengal army, the Sepoys were from Awadh. Bihar also, but Sepoys from Awadh. Right? Bengal army does not have Bengalis. Logic is simple. ऐसा ना हो that tomorrow another Mir Qasim 6063 rises and the Bengalis in my Bengal army, they support him, then what will happen? No. Right? This situation should not be there. Right? So therefore, I'll bring Sepoys from outside Bengal into Bengal army and I'll send Bengalis to maybe Awadh or some other region. Second thing they used to do to ensure their political stability, कि इस ruler को ही हटा दो यहाँ से, remove this ruler from this particular Indian state. That is why they are pensioning of Bahadur Shah Zafar after 1857 to Rangoon. That is why they are pensioning of Bajirao II to Bithur near Kanpur. Why? If this person is not here, so therefore there is no icon present, there is no symbol present around which the people can rally and they can raise a banner. If Bahadur Shah Zafar had not been in Delhi, तो ये मेरठ सिपाहीज कहां जाते? If Bahadur Shah Zafar had not been in Delhi, had he been in Burma or some place else, so ये सिपाहीज कहां जाते? किसको बोलते कि तू हमारा एम्परर है? Symbol, right? So therefore symbol should not be there. Symbol should not be there. This kind of scenario. I was watching a documentary on Maharaja Dilip Singh, Kohinoor, right? Kohinoor documentary is there, right? So therefore it was mentioned in one scene that once he was in England, London, and he was there standing in the balcony, and suddenly some normal Sikh people, they recognized him and they started raising the slogans of Khalsa. What is Maharaja Dilip Singh having? He is not having any territory after 1849. मतलब वो तो कुछ भी नहीं है, 5 साल के थे, 5 या 7 साल के थे 1859 में, right? 1849 में. So therefore when he is young and he is in England, he does not have anything. He only has symbolic authority. And see, people have chosen him. लोगों को एक चाहिए होता है कि इसके अंदर हम अपने फेथ को इसके अंदर डिपॉजिट करके we can rise around him. Symbolic value होता है. Right? That is why statues are there. That is why symbols are there. So that people, they can find something. Right? The people, they can find something. This kind of scenario. And actually that is the logic. So this is a political logic. This is political logic. You see, for example, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose statue, or you see the Indian flag and you see a sense of this thing. If we simply shift it to socio-religious domain and we apply this particular factor in Hinduism, so therefore that is the reason for idol worship. That is what Swami Vivekananda said while defending some form of idol worship. Not all idol worship, but some form of idol worship. Because it is commonsensical logic that people, they want to deposit their faith into, मतलब उनको कुछ चाहिए, right? इस प्रकार तभी तो लोग परिक्रमा करते हैं, मक्का मदीना जाते हैं, क्यों जाते हैं? Right? Religious things are there, religious reasons are there. But what are the psychological reasons, spiritual reasons? There is a symbol, and that symbol has become the center of all the people's religious, values and religious love, right? So therefore, let us do this परिक्रमा. वैष्णो देवी आप लोग जाते हो, right? तो वो क्यों जाते हैं? Because symbolic. तो वही सेम चीजें हैं, वो पॉलिटिक्स में अप्लाई कर देते हो, वैसे हो जाता है, इकोनॉमिक्स में अप्लाई कर दो कुछ और हो जाएगा, राइट? तो उस प्रकार से रहता है. तो एनीवेज, तो इस वजह से ये लोग करते थे, राइट? सो क्या लिखा लास्ट हमने? अपर कास्ट है ना, कस्टम्स ऑफ practices of upper caste. Anyways, next point write down. British tried developing uniform culture. British tried developing uniform culture. अच्छा, वो वाला पॉइंट पूरा कर लेते हैं. तो बेसिकली क्या हुआ, एज annexations are taking place and as subsidiary alliances are being done, people from different areas of India, they will become part of the AIC army, and these people, they will be stationed in different cantonments, right, all across India. And as a result, it will become tough for the Britishers to respect everyone's food practice, everyone's religious practice, everyone's caste practice. भाई मेस तो एक ही है ना, राइट? या फिर अब वो पहले नहीं, वो एक टाइप की आरती करेंगे, फिर वो दूसरे टाइप की पूजा करेंगे, फिर वो दूसरे टाइप की नमाज करेंगे, ठीक है? ऐसा ऐसा करके क्या ये सब बहुत टफ हो गया अभी हमारे लिए. टिल द पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वी वर देयर ओनली इन बंगाल, राइट? फ्रॉम 1757 until your which year? Next annexation probably takes place Nadan Sarkar 1766. वो तो छोटा सा ही है, but properly next annexation they take place by Third Anglo-Mysore War 1780-84. So therefore roughly we can say that from 1757 to 1784 it is majorly Bengal, and beach में this subsidiary alliance with Awadh in the form of like Treaty of Allahabad, mini subsidiary alliance with Awadh. So it is Bengal Awadh region where the East India Company is dominating, and it is the Bengal Awadh region from where the sepoys are recruited. They are recruited as per the Indian tradition, so therefore they are upper caste, and therefore मुझे कोई problem नहीं है. All of you are from the upper caste, तो ठीक है, आपको vegetarian खाना तो vegetarian खाइए. आज tomorrow we are going for war. Today if you want to have some kind of ceremony, religious ceremony, right? So therefore, fine, we can have that kind of religious ceremony. You want to wear Janeau, fine, you can wear Janeau. It's okay, right? I'll respect. But as the EIC empire is expanding from 1783-84 onwards until your 1856, whole of India, 67% of India, British India, it is the next, and in the rest of the India, subsidy lines kind of system, it is there, right? So therefore, now the army has become very, very heterogeneous, and now it is very tough for the Britishers to, ensure that caste practices are, respected, right? You want to wear, you want to have, idli, she wants to have samosa in the mess. अब वो क्या क्या बनेगा, समझ रहे हो, Indian layman kind of example, right? So therefore that is why, and this is why the Britishers, they decided that we are now going to bring uniform culture. We are going to have a uniform culture, right? So right now, British tried developing a uniform culture. British tried developing a uniform culture in army. British tried developing uniform culture in army, as it would decrease loyalty to caste, as it would decrease loyalty to caste, as it would decrease loyalty to caste / religion. It will decrease loyalty to caste / religion and increase loyalty to employer, and increase loyalty to employer, and increase loyalty to employer. Therefore, EIC reduced caste privileges. Therefore, EIC reduced caste privileges. Therefore, EIC reduced caste privileges. EIC reduced caste privileges. Example, wearing religious symbols. Example, wearing religious symbols. Comma, food preferences. Food preferences. Religious symbols, comma, food preferences, etc. Food preferences, etc. And sepoys were forced to go abroad. And sepoys were forced to go abroad. Sepoys were forced to go abroad. That led to loss of caste. That led to loss of caste. And those who refused were punished and even dismissed. Those who refused were punished / dismissed. And those who refused were punished / dismissed. / dismissed. Next point. Also, since Charter Act 1813, also since Charter Act 1813, also since Charter Act 1813, Charter Act 1813, comma, focus on spread of Christianity. 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 Therefore, presence of Christian missionaries. Therefore, presence of Christian missionaries. Therefore, presence of Christian missionaries. Presence of Christian missionaries in barracks. Presence of Christian missionaries in barracks. Barracks mean the places where these people they live. Cantonments, they will have barracks, right? Christian missionaries in barracks created fear of conversion. Created fear of conversion. Created fear of conversion. Next point. Rumor of rumor of mixing of cow and pig bone dust, rumor of mixing of cow and pig bone dust in atta slash fluor, rumor of mixing of cow and pig bone dust in atta slash fluor. आटा पता है ना, आटा फ्लोर, राइट. सो रोटी बनती है, चपातीज, यू मेक चपातीज आउट ऑफ दैट. प्लस why did not they leave their jobs if they are exploited so much? Because other than, so how will they earn their livelihood? What will they do? They only know to fight. They are from the Kshatriya Varna, for example, or they only know one thing in their life, and that is to fight. So therefore, if they leave their job, what will they do? They'll go back to the agriculture sector. Agriculture sector will get overburdened. The family land which was supporting 3 brothers, now family of 4th brother is also coming. The family pressure will also be there, that please don't leave your job. What will happen to us? Already there is, economic problems. Already there is oppression on the money lenders, etc., etc. So therefore, leaving job is not easy. There are financial responsibilities. Everyone needs to do something in their life, right? So what will they do? That kind of scenario. And why we should leave our job, and you should not change your religious practice. We should not change your attitude and behavior. Why you should not remove Christian missionaries? We have been serving you. We have served for past 30 years, 20 years. We have served in the army, and now you are simply telling us that leave the job, right? So it is very sentimental issue. When you have a career, when you have spent 20 years, 15 years, 30 years, right, in some job, saying that you leave the job is not easy. Even when you have retired, there is something called depression after retirement. But for them to do protest with respect to leaving their job, they need to have something to fall back upon, some finances to fall back upon, right? So it is not the modern politics era where they can us prakar se, right? So anyways, so plus rumor of you become an IAS officer. After that, you are going to have a lot of grievances, right? So there are so many, service associations are also there, which raise grievances of the officials, right? IAS association is there, IPS association is there, IRS association is there, right? So many grievances are there. Why don't they leave their job? You get selected to UPSC. After that, if you don't feel like, you leave job. Not everyone is like me, right? Why did I leave my job? अभी ये वाला सिलेबस पूरा कर ले, तुम्हारी लगने से पहले या तुम्हें पहले ही छोड़नी पता चले तुम्हारी लगे ही ना, सिलेबस पूरा कर लेते हैं पहले, ठीक है, राइट? सो राइट डाउन प्लस rumor of cartridges of new Enfield rifle, rumor of cartridges of new Enfield rifle that replaced Brown Bess musket, comma, having grease made of, GREASE, having grease made of cow and pig fat, in brackets, true. So this was true. Cow and pig fat, it was simply not just a rumor, but like Shekhar Bandyopadhyay says that it was not totally untrue. That means in some cases it was true. So rumor mein sach tha, right? There was truth in the rumor, right? Cow and pig fat. Full stop. These were to be bitten off. These were to be bitten off. These were to be bitten off before loading. These were to be bitten off before loading. These were to be bitten off before loading. So in your mouth you will get cow fat and pig fat, right? Dharmash ho jayega aapka, right? Full stop. Sepoys feared that British want to make them lesser Hindu / Muslim. Sepoys feared that British want to make them lesser Hindu / Muslim for easier conversion to Christianity. Sepoys feared that British want to make them lesser Hindu / Muslim for easier conversion to Christianity. For easier conversion to Christianity. So this sentence, it represents that factor which I mentioned, that if I have to convert you, first I'll break your ties with your existing religion, और फिर आपको, then I'll introduce you to the new religion. Why? Because you are in search of, you want God in your life, because that is a very religious society, right? So therefore you want something, right? So उस तरीके से. Next, revolt began in Bengal army. Next independent point. This is like a miscellaneous kind of a point. It is also a reason for the sepoys to mutiny, but it is also a miscellaneous kind of a point. Revolt began in Bengal army. Revolt began in Bengal army as high caste identity, as high caste identity, as high caste identity still present here. High caste identity still present here. High caste identity still present here. इसको रिपीट करवा देना, बड़ी अच्छी कॉफी थी, है ना? स्टिल प्रेजेंट है, ये भी छिड़ जाएंगे थोड़े से, ऐसे चटकारे लगा लगा के पीऊंगा कॉफी. तू क्या पी रहा था? ये तो प्रोटीन वोटीन पी रहा होगा. कॉफी पी रहा है? कोल्ड कॉफी, हॉट कॉफी? सही टशन है तेरे, हैं? हाँ मैं अकेले पी रहा हूँ, तुमको चिढ़ाने के लिए पीता हूँ मैं तो. चलो अच्छी बात है, तो इसीलिए तेरी खत्म नहीं हुई, इसे मैंने एक और मंगा ली. Revolt began in Bengal army because high caste identity present here. High caste identity present here. Plus ratio of British men to Indians. Ratio of British men to Indians. Ratio of British men to Indians was lowest. Ratio of British men to Indians was lowest in Bengal army. Ratio of British men to Indians was lowest in Bengal army. Lowest in Bengal army. So therefore this is a reason also, right? How it is this is a reason also, and this is of the sepoys mutiny, right? And this is also like a facilitating or enabling factor that or answer to the question that why revolt began in Bengal army. So revolt began in Bengal army. Why? Because by chance वहाँ पे ऐसा था that heterogeneity has not come yet, by chance, and it was a mistake. It was a mistake from the side of the Britishers that they had not made the Bengal army heterogeneous. So in the Bengal army, most of the sepoys, they were from the upper castes. They were Rajputs, they were Bhumihas, they were Brahmins, mainly Brahmins from Awadh, right? And therefore high caste identity was there. When high caste identity is there, your grievance is cow fat, pig fat, your grievance is cow fat, pig fat, everyone's grievance is cow fat, pig fat. Everyone's grievance is religious grievance, because all of you follow upper caste religious practices. So therefore sense of unity is there, right? So why did the revolt began in Bengal army? Because they were because all were from the upper caste, and therefore more bonds, more unity, more brotherhood, more fraternity was there, right? And second, why did revolt began in Bengal army? That was also a mistake. यहाँ पे the ratio between the Firangis and the Indians was the lowest. That means that gave confidence to the Indian sepoys कि मुट्ठी भरी है, let us rise. That is very less number of Europeans are there, let us rise, right? So that is why the revolt began in Bengal army, right? Next, write down political reasons. Political reasons. So after social religious reasons for sepoys, now we are talking about political reasons dash मतलब उसका sepoys का. तो ये हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. नेक्स्ट सेशन ऑफ अवध है. मोस्ट ऑफ द sepoys they came from अवध, so therefore they had this feeling कि at least my अवध you could have spared. And when the Britishers they annexed Awadh in 1856, it resulted in grievances among the sepoys. It hurt the loyalty of the sepoys, Awadh sepoys, who were present in the Bengal army. उनका जो loyalty है वो hurt हो रहा है, because now you captured the whole of India with my help. At least you could have spared my homeland, right? That kind of scenario. Political reasons dash majority sepoys in Bengal army, majority sepoys in Bengal army were from Awadh. And nearly every family in Awadh sent a family member. And nearly every family in Awadh sent a family member to EIC army. Sent a family member to EIC army. Right? Sent a family member to EIC army. First off, annexation of Awadh in 1856. Annexation of Awadh 1856. Seen as betrayal, dhokha, BETRAYAL, seen as betrayal by sepoys, and it hurt loyalty, Next, agrarian grievance. किसका सिपाहीस का? Agrarian grievance. So it is famously said that Sepoy was a peasant in uniform. माने कि his childhood was in a peasant family. In his childhood he had went to the fields, he had labored along with his family, he had sowed seeds, he had हल चलाया था उसने बचपन में, right? So therefore throughout his childhood he was basically part of a peasant family, and now he has basically gone to the EIC army. So therefore he is a peasant at heart. Yes, he is now wearing a uniform, but he is a peasant at heart, right? And therefore he has a peasant family. And when the Sepoy is getting the news that how the British land revenue systems, they are hurting his family, therefore his loyalty it is hurt, right? For example, we know that in the case of we will know soon, the Britishers, they implemented what you call as Mehalwari settlement. Right now you don't need to know what is Mehalwari settlement, but itna bas yaad rakhiye that in the Mehalwari settlement, the ryot was, in most of the cases, the ryot was made the owner of the land, right? And taxes are paid by the owner of the property. The problem was that the Britishers, they made this, the Britishers, they made the peasants owners of the land, but the way they operated, it resulted in that by one hand you are giving the peasants the land, but from the other hand you are taking away the land, right? So therefore they applied high land revenue. And as a result, if the peasant landowner is not able to pay the land revenue, the government will come and it will auction the lands. So therefore there is loss of land. एक हाथ से आपने जमीन दिया, दूसरे हाथ से आपने ले लिया. Second is, to pay that land revenue, the ryot will go to money lender and he will take loan. Money lenders, they were not controlled by the government. Like today, NBFCs, non-banking financial companies, they are controlled by the RBI. They are told you cannot apply, you cannot take more than this much percentage of interest. That happened when some suicides took place in Andhra Pradesh because of interest rates as high as 80% per annum, 90% per annum, right? So this started happening after around a decade earlier, or 7-8 years back, this thing was taking place. And that is how the RBI came to regulate the interest rates which are charged by these lenders which are not banks, right? So anyways, ये problem current में भी था और उस time पे भी था. उस time पे there was no regulation of the money lenders. So they will be in the operation of the money lenders because the interest rate it is very, very high. There will come a point of time when the ryot or the peasant, he will not be able to pay the loan back, he will default on the loan. Then the money lender will go to the British court and will say that this particular yacht, इसने अपना जमीन गिरवी रखा था, he had mortgaged this particular property, and in lieu of that, in return of that, I had given him a loan, and see now he has defaulted. So please help me take the land. As simple as that. So British police will come, that is the EIC police will come with the court orders, and they will take over the lands. Right? So therefore, when such information is being sent in letters by the family members to the sepoys, will they not hate their employer? That यहाँ पे मैं तुम्हारे मर रहा हूँ, here I am ready to die for you, right? Fine, I am getting a salary, but I am here, serving you loyally, even till my last breath. And how you are ruining my family back home, right? So because he came from a peasant family, so it was not his grievance, it was the grievance of his family, but he was getting impacted. He was having anger against the employer, that is the East India Company, right? So that is what is there. So please write down. British did summary settlement in Awadh. British did summary settlement. British did summary settlement in Awadh. Summary settlement in Awadh. That determined LR. That determined LR. That determined LR without proper field surveys. That determined LR without proper field surveys. That determined LR without proper field surveys. That determined LR without proper field surveys, leading to unjust LR demand. 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 Full stop. In northwest provinces, in northwest provinces, in northwest provinces, they are done in northwest provinces the field surveys. ऐसा लिखो, in northwest provinces the field surveys were done but were improper. In northwest provinces field surveys were done but were improper. But were improper. Next point, when peasants could not pay LR, when peasants could not pay LR, when peasants could not pay LR, their lands were auctioned by government. When peasants could not pay LR, their lands were auctioned by government. When peasants could not pay LR, their lands were auctioned by government. Their lands were auctioned by government. Plus, to pay high LR, plus to pay high LR, comma, peasants took loans from money lenders. Peasants took loans from money lenders by mortgaging their lands. By mortgaging their lands. By mortgaging their lands. And there was loss of land to money lenders. And there was loss of land to money lenders. And there was loss of lands to money lenders. When peasants defaulted on repayment of loans, when peasants defaulted on repayment of loans, when peasants defaulted on repayment of loans. Full stop. Sepoy was a peasant in uniform. Sepoy was a peasant in uniform. Sepoy was a peasant in uniform. Since he came from, Sepoy was a peasant in uniform since he came from peasant family. Since he came from peasant family. Since he came from peasant family. Therefore, his loyalty was hurt. Therefore, his loyalty was hurt by LR policies of British. His loyalties were hurt by LR, land revenue, LR policies of British, LR policies of British, LR policies of British. See, if you are a poor man, right, for you each and every 500 rupees also matter. So therefore, if the field survey is improper, right, then it is going to hurt you, right. So in the case of Awadh, there was summary settlement. Summary is opposite of detailed. So when you say summary settlement, you are saying कि भाई ठीक है यार तुम इतने दे दो. You give this much amount of money, you give this much amount of tax, you give this much amount of tax. So therefore, it will lead to unjust land revenue demand. Both kind of scenarios will be there, as I told probably in the last class also, that you will be very, very happy that they should have demanded 100 rupees, but they have demanded only 75 rupees. Such peasants will also be there, who will be very happy. And such peasants will also be there, who will say, they should have demanded only 50 rupees from me, and they have demanded 75 rupees. So therefore, you guys, you will report, right, because you have that anger. So summary settlement. And in the case of northwest provinces which were taken over in 1801, half of Awadh, वहाँ पे they applied Mehlwari settlement. They did field survey, but that field survey was improper. Proper शिद्दत से नहीं गया था field survey, right? उसमें errors थे that resulted in unjust land revenue demand. So therefore, either you are losing land to the moneylender, and why you have taken loan from the moneylender to pay the high land revenue, or you are losing land to the government. Why? Because you could not pay the land revenue. That is why in the 1857 revolt, moneylenders were also targeted by the civil population. Moneylenders were also under attack, right? So ye hai. Next, last line, this like conclusion of Sepoy mutiny. Therefore, issue of cartridges. Therefore, issue of cartridges. Therefore, issue of cartridges. Therefore, issue of cartridges was only a trigger. Therefore, issue of cartridges was only a trigger. Therefore, issue of cartridges was only a trigger that gave voice. Issue of cartridges was only a trigger that gave voice. Issue of cartridges was only a trigger that gave voice to multiple grievances. That gave voice to multiple grievances. That gave voice to multiple grievances. Right? So therefore, ऐसा नहीं था कि बस the Britishers they used to say that these people are stupid people. They believed some rumor that we are mixing cow and pig bone dust and we are mixing cow and pig fat in the grease. We deny these rumors. These are simply rumors, right? And these are stupid people, right? Uneducated people who, on the basis of this rumor, have started this mutiny. Stupid fellas, right? This is the British narrative, right? What is the Indian narrative? Indian narrative is that the issue of the cartridges, it acted like a matchstick. It acted as a lighter, right? Otherwise, the grievances, the fuel, it was getting collected since long period of time. So that is the answer, right? Next, write down. Next heading: reasons for civil rebellion. Reasons for civil rebellion. Reasons for civil rebellion. Reasons for civil rebellion. So see the structure that we are following. In the beginning, in the introduction, we gave some highlight that Mangal Pandey revolted 10th May, 11th May, etc. We gave some introduction, and then we established that after this, the civil rebellion also began, and therefore we established that what was 1857 revolt. First FAQ, 1857 revolt is the topic. First FAQ, what was 1857 revolt? It is equal to Sepoy mutiny plus civil rebellion. So therefore, first we established that. Next FAQ, why Sepoys revolted? We established that. Next FAQ, why civilians revolted? That we are going to write down, right? So, and for that we need to divide the civilians into multiple parts, right? Those who provided leadership and those who were the ground force. Ground force for peasants and artisans. Leadership was provided by the ex-rulers, ex-nobility and zamindars. So what are the grievances of the ex-rulers? Obviously loss of power. What are the grievances of zamindars? Obviously loss of their estates. Why? Because in the Mehlwari settlement, in most of the cases, not in all cases, but in roughly 90% of the cases, we can say that in 90% of the areas, if there was any zamindar, his lands were taken away, his milkiyats were taken away, and the actual cultivator was recognized as the legal landowner by the British. Right? So therefore, that was their loss of economic status. Their private forts and their private armies, these are such big zamindars, even today they call themselves Rajas. These Talukdars of Awadh, right? Those who belong to Talukdar family of Awadh, they still call themselves Rajas. They still have meetings, etc. Right? So therefore, they used to have some private forts also, they used to have some private army also, they were disbanded. So therefore, the loss of political status was there for the Talukdars. Talukdars are like intermediary zamindars, right? That means bade zamindars, right? Primary zamindar, intermediate zamindar, right? Plus rule of law. So Britishers, they had introduced their rule of law. Now everyone is equal in the eyes of the law. So therefore, loss of social status is there, right? So please write down reasons for civil rebellion. First subheading, feudal elements. First subheading, feudal elements. What is the meaning of word feudal? Yes, something which is old and backward. That is time wise old and progression wise backward, not forward looking. So in the polity, we will be the feudal elements. What is the feudal way of polity? Not having democracy but having monarchy, right? So when you say feudal elements, that it is the ruler and his mansabdars, right? So feudal elements slash ex rulers and nobility, ex rulers and nobility, ex rulers and nobility, ex rulers and nobility. Dash. Loss of kingdom due to annexations. Loss of kingdom due to annexations. Loss of kingdom due to annexations. Example under doctrine of lapse. Example under doctrine of lapse. Therefore, dispossessed Indian rulers and nobility, dispossessed Indian rulers and nobility provided leadership in 1857 revolt. Provided leadership in 1857 revolt. Some thoughts are coming to my mind, right, which I am not making you write down, right, but ऐसा हमें सोचना चाहिए. You can write down in bracket star लगा के also बाद में या जैसे भी आपको मन लगे. But what is there? When as soon as I made you write down that I'm telling you, I'm very transparent, so I'm telling you how does a teacher thinks, right? और या उसके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा होता है, और how does a writer thinks when he is writing a book, right? So therefore, for example, as soon as I made you write down that they provided leadership, so a question came to my mind as a teacher that thoughts क्या चल रहे थे मेरे, that why they will provide leadership, why cannot anyone else provide leadership? Why the people, for someone to be a leader, the followers, they should accept him as a leader, right? So therefore, why the nobility and why the ex-rulers, they are considered as leaders? Why? Because before the British, they were considered as the leaders of the Indian society. The common man, when he looks towards Raja, when he looks towards the Mansabdars, he feels that they are the rulers. उसको अगर किसी से hope है that someone will help him against, let's say, oppression by the zamindars, तो क्या hope है that the Rajas officers, they will come and इस zamindar को ठीक कर देंगे, they will make this zamindar. So therefore, Raja, everyone is like Raja, right? So for example, some jhaki is going on, so people are standing that today we'll be able to see Maharani, today we'll be able to see the Raja, today we'll be able to see the Maharaja, today we'll be able to see the prince, right? So therefore, in their eyes, they are the leaders. And now suddenly this Firangi has come, right, who has removed these Rajas, plus these people are hurting me also. So therefore, वही राजा कहाँ गए अब? इनको हटाते हैं ना, हम मिलके हम आपके लिए बढ़ने को तैयार हैं. We are ready to die for you. So because they are the traditional leaders of the Indian society, that is why they will provide leadership, right? Second point, हमने लिखा dispossessed rajas or dispossessed rulers and nobility. Rulers का तो समझ में आता है that they are lost kingdom. What about nobility? That is also commonsensical. For example, right now if there is an Indian ruler, right? Let's say there is an Indian Nawab, and you are a Mansabdar, right? You will enjoy power till the point of time he is enjoying power. Once he is removed from the rule, you will also be removed, because in your place will come the EIC, and in your place, that is in your place, it will come the governor of Bengal or governor of Madras or governor of Bombay, and in your place will come the senior IAS officer, that is the EIC official. So both of you are going to lose power if he loses power, because you are a mansabdar. No, you are a mansabdar of king. मनसबदार नहीं हो आप, सिर्फ आप किसी के मनसबदार हो. यू आर मनसबदार ऑफ किंग. तो अगर ऑफ किंग काटा तो मनसबदार कहां हो भाई, कहां हवा में गिर जाओगे. प्रॉपर सेंटेंसेस, यू आर मनसबदार ऑफ समवन. द किंग हैज अपॉइंटेड यू एज मनसबदार. अगर किंग ही नहीं है तो आपका अपॉइंटमेंट तो नल एंड वॉइड हो गया. एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट. सो दैट्स व्हाई द होल एरिस्टोक्रेसी इट गॉट नेगेटिवली इंपैक्टेड, नॉट जस्ट द किंग. Because your power is going to be taken away by those Firangi IAS officers now, right? So therefore bureaucracy as well as ruler both revolted, right? Both provided leadership, right? तो वो है example Nana Sahib in Kanpur. 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 In brackets, adopted son of Baji Rao II. Nana Sahib, SAHIB. वो वाले जो थे पेशवा नाना साहिब 4061, वो SAHEB थे, ये SAHIB है, राइट. सो बाजीराव 2040, बालाजी बाजीराव और नाना साहिब 4061, राइट. सो वो वाले SAHAB थे, ये SAHIB है, राइट. So Nana Sahib in Kanpur, in brackets, adopted son of Baji Rao II. Adopted son of Baji Rao II. 9618. 9618. Dash was denied pension. Dash was denied pension. After death. Was denied pension after death of Baji Rao II. Bracket close. So you see, this is how doctrine of lapse has operated. Bracket close. Plus Tatya Tope. Plus Tatya Tope. Tatya Tope assisted him. Plus Tatya Tope assisted him. Plus Tatya Tope assisted him. Semicolon plus बेगम हजरत महल. बेगम हजरत महल. बेगम कहां की होती हैं? प्लेस वाइज. इफ आई हैव टू गिव यू एमसीक्यू, तो प्लेस वाइज बेगम कहां की होगी मोस्ट प्रोबेबली? लखनऊ. हाँ तो बस ठीक है, तो ऐसे रट्टा मारना होता है. बेगम तो लखनऊ में होती है. बेगम हजरत महल इन लखनऊ. लखनऊ कहां पे है? यूपी में. यूपी क्या है? अवध. ठीक है. सो शी मस्ट बी वाइफ ऑफ नवाब ऑफ अवध, whose Awadh was annexed in 1856. So common sense, right? So common sense reduces rote learning burden, right? So Begum Hazrat Mahal, HAZRAT, Hazrat Mahal in Lucknow. In brackets, wife of ex-Nawab Wajid Ali Shah. Wife of ex-Nawab Wajid Ali Shah. WAJID. Wife of ex-Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, comma, ruled in name of young son during 1857 revolt. Ruled in name of young son during 1857 revolt, bracket closed. Ruled in name of young son during 1857 revolt, brackets closed. Semicolon plus Khan Bahadur Khan. Khan Bahadur Khan. ये कहां से होंगे? इसको कैसे याद करें भाई? शाहरुख खान, सलमान खान, फन में शाहरुख खान, सलमान खान, वन खान, इंडियन मुस्लिम, डबल खान. ही मस्ट बी फ्रॉम अफगानिस्तान. डबल खान माने अफगान, है ना? अफगान कौन थे? बंगाश पठान से या रोहिल्ला अफगान थे. तो ये ज्यादा बड़े कौन से थे? रोहिल्लास. रोहिल्ला की कैपिटल क्या थी? बरेली, राइट. सो राइट डाउन खान बहादुर खान डैश और रोहिल्ला अफगान, और रोहिल्ला अफगान, खान बहादुर खान डैश और रोहिल्ला अफगान led in Bareilly, led in Bareilly, led in Bareilly, led in Bareilly. Semicolon plus Rani Lakshmi Bai in Jhansi, Rani Lakshmi Bai in Jhansi, Jhansi, Rani Lakshmi Bai in Jhansi. In brackets, her adopted son wasn't recognized as ruler. In brackets, her adopted son wasn't recognized as ruler. In brackets, her adopted son wasn't recognized as ruler. Bracket is close. भगत समल झाड़ियों में उड़ता सा नाग, ठीक है, झाड़ियों में, झांसी, 1854, झांसी had been annexed. Semicolon plus कुंवर सिंह, कुंवर सिंह, कुंवर सिंह of Jagdishpur, कुंवर सिंह of Jagdishpur, comma Bihar, कुंवर सिंह of Jagdishpur, comma Bihar, कुंवर सिंह of Jagdishpur, comma Bihar. In brackets, a big zamindar slash raja, a big zamindar slash local raja, a big zamindar slash local raja, a big zamindar slash local raja, whose estates, a big zamindar slash local raja whose estates were taken over, whose estates were taken over by EIC, whose estates were taken over by EIC. Brackets closed. Semicolon plus B.S. Zafar, Bahadur Shah Zafar 3757, B.S. Zafar 3757, Bahadur Shah Zafar 3757 in Delhi, Bahadur Shah Zafar 3757 in Delhi. In brackets, Canning 5662. So he was the 1856 to 1862. He was like the Governor General of India, right? And after that, Viceroy from 1858. Canning 5662, Canning 5662. Announced in 1856 that Mughal Emperor, announced in 1856 that Mughal Emperor, announced in 1856 that Mughal Emperor would now be called a prince. Mughal Emperor would now be called a prince. Would now be called a prince. And he to vacate, and he to vacate, and he to vacate Red Fort, and he to vacate Red Fort, to live in smaller Qutub, to live in smaller Qutub Fort, to live in smaller Qutub Fort, to live in smaller Qutub Fort, right? So there is loss of status, right? That now from emperor you are going to be called prince, and ye Red Fort empty it, and you should move to a smaller house, right? So therefore this kind of grievance, power to otherwise है नहीं उसके पास. Next independent paragraph point or heading, big landowners slash talukdars, big landowners slash talukdars slash zamindars, big landowners slash talukdars slash zamindars. Zamindars, big landowners slash talukdars slash zamindars. First sub point, Mehlwari settlement, Mehlwari settlement, Mehlwari settlement, Mahalwari, Mehlwari settlement in northwest provinces and Awadh, in northwest provinces and Awadh, and in Awadh, in northwest provinces and in Awadh, in northwest provinces and in Awadh, led to loss of led to loss of lands, led to loss of lands, led to loss of lands, as in many cases, Ryot was made legal landowner, as in many cases Ryot was made legal landowner, and as in many cases Ryot was made legal landowner. Therefore loss of economic status, therefore lost economic status, therefore lost economic status, plus their private forts and private armies, disbanded, plus their private forts and private armies disbanded. Therefore loss of political status, their private forts and private armies disbanded, therefore private forts and private armies disbanded, therefore loss of political status, therefore loss of political status, plus British rule of law, plus British rule of law with equality before law, plus British rule of law with equality before law, led to loss of social status, led to loss of social status, led to loss of social status. Therefore provided leadership, therefore provided leadership in 1857 revolt, therefore provided leadership in 1857 revolt. Next heading, write down peasants. Next heading, write down peasants. First subpoint, peasants. First subpoint, landlessness, 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 dash, landlessness dash, improper field surveys, improper field surveys, improper field surveys in NW provinces, improper field surveys in NW provinces, and summary settlement in Awadh, improper field surveys in NW provinces and summary settlement in Awadh, and summary settlement in Awadh led to unjust LR demand, led to unjust LR demand, led to unjust LR demand, and loss of land in government auction on non-payment of LR, and loss of land in government auction on non-payment of LR. Loss of land in government auction on non-payment of LR, plus loss of land due to indebtedness, loss of land due to indebtedness to money lenders, loss of land due to indebtedness to money lenders, loss of land due to indebtedness to money lenders who charged very high interest rates, who charged very high interest rates on loans, who charged very high interest rates on loans, who charged very high interest rates on loans, leading to consequent default by peasants, leading to consequent default by peasant, leading to consequent default by peasant. Full stop. British courts and officials, British courts and officials completed process of landlessness, British courts and officials completed process of landlessness. as they supported money lenders, as they supported money lenders, as they supported money lenders. Why will they support money lenders? Simple point, bhaiya. There is no regulation, free market economy is there. I am a money lender, right? I have given you loan. There is a piece of contract. As per that contract, I will be allowed to take over your lands if you default on the loan. You defaulted on your loan. Now I am going to the British court. British court calls you. You had signed this contract. These are your signatures. Yes. This is your thumbprint. Yes. Right. So fine. Have you paid the loan? No. Have you defaulted on loan? No. Yes. So therefore, police, please take away his land and give to money lender. As simple as that. The British court will apply the law. Just that the British court is insensitive. And British court bhi kya kare? The British government is insensitive. It is not putting any cap on the interest rates. It is not providing any support. So therefore, rule of law. But that law is unjust law. That law is an act of omission. The government should have acted to prevent the operation by the money lender. And therefore, this is how the British courts and the officials, they are completing the process of landlessness. Why? एक बार कोर्ट का ऑर्डर आ जाए तो उसको हम सब लोग फाइनल मान लेते हैं. ठीक है, तो एक बार कोर्ट का ऑर्डर आ गया, once the court order comes, we consider some things to be final. So once the court order has come that yes, indeed, money lender is entitled to my land because I have defaulted on loan. So therefore, now the process is complete. A final full stop, a conclusion was written by the British court that yes, now indeed you are landless. So that is the meaning of the sentence, that landlessness was completed or was concluded by the British courts, because judiciary word is the final word. एक होप होती है हर व्यक्ति को, even a person who is on death sentence, right? हालांकि इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में you can go for mercy petition also, but if you forget the mercy petition, even a person who is on death sentence, he has a hope from Supreme Court. Maybe they will not give me death sentence, maybe they will convert it into life imprisonment, right? But once Supreme Court says death, then fate is sealed. Then fate is sealed. This kind of scenario, right? Therefore, money lenders also became targets of peasant attacks. Therefore, money lenders also became targets of peasant attacks. Therefore, money lenders also became targets of peasant attacks. Next point, religion. Next heading, religion. Religion is equal to grievance common to all. Religion is equal to grievance common to all. Religion is equal to grievance common to all. माने कि चाहे राजा हो, चाहे जमींदार हो, चाहे सिविल पर्सन हो, चाहे सिपाही हो, everyone is having this religious grievance. माने कि everyone felt that their religion is under threat, especially after Charter Act of 1813. इन लोगों ने कुछ काम करे थे, for example, Hindu Widow Remarriages Act, Hindu Widow Remarriages Act 1856, abolition of Sati 1829. Right. Similarly, some Lex Loci Act 1850. Right. So basically, the Britishers, they had brought such acts which made the Hindus feel that they are interfering in the religion. They want to destroy our religion. Lex Loci Act, it allowed that those Hindus and Muslims who have converted to Christianity, they will still be allowed right to property of their parents. And therefore, if anyone was not converting to Christianity just because of the fear that after becoming Christian, whether will I have property rights of my father's ancestral property, those fears are addressed by the Lex Loci Act, which is also known as Removal of Religious Disabilities Act, which is also known as Caste Disabilities Removal Act 1850. Right? So therefore, this thing, it contributed. Right, the Britishers, for example, they started taxing lands of temples and mosques and lands of some religious sects who were till now revenue free. सरकार उनसे टैक्स नहीं लेती थी. ब्रिटिश लाई ये क्या मजाक है, ना बाप बड़ा ना भैया, सबसे बड़ा ये क्या है, यू आर अ टेम्पल, लैंड रेवेन्यू हर कोई देगा, दैट यू आर अ रिलीजियस सेक्ट, यू आर फॉलोवर आसाराम बाबू, मैं क्या करूं, यू हैव टू गिव टैक्स, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. और यू आर फॉलोवर ऑफ सदगुरु, व्हाट शुड आई डू, मेरा काम है पैसा. यू आर फॉलोवर ऑफ स्वामी विवेकानंदा, मैं क्या करूं, You are follower of some रामदेव नेक्स्ट स्टेप तुम्हारा फेवरेट, तो दूसरे रिलीजन्स को भी इंक्लूड कर लेते हैं, ठीक है ना. सो यू आर फॉलोअर ऑफ वो कहते हैं कौन है वो यार, चिश्ती अरे यार निजामुद्दीन औलिया के आप फॉलोअर हो लेट्स से, ठीक है. आप गाना गा रहे हो, गाना मतलब रिलीजियस गाना, ख्वाजा मेरे ख्वाजा, ठीक है, इस टाइप का गाना गा रहे हो आप, मस्ती में हो, सूफी में हो, ठीक है, फन में हो, मीरा वाले मोड में हो, ठीक है, गुरु नानक देव जी वाले मोड में हो, फाइन. आप एक काम करो, योर मेजर फोकस इट इज नॉट ऑन अर्निंग मनी, यू आर अ स्पिरिचुअल पर्सन, यू आर ऑन सम अदर लेवल. So therefore the existing rulers or the previous rulers they used to support you by not taxing your lands, right? कि चलो भी ठीक है, you are private, fine. But the British like ये सब क्या है? I don't recognize all of these gods. For me the God is only Christian, right? So therefore I am going to tax. So therefore this kind of scenario it is coming. Overall such a situation was there. Plus एक और चीज थी. So apart from this religion grievances, another thing was there that there was a common understanding among all the Indians that the British rule it is immoral. The British rule it is immoral. Immoral माने ये गलत है यार. How to explain immoral? Immoral from the perspective of the common man, layman, it is like ये गलत है यार. But this is wrong, right? So if I am looking at the polity, what has happened to my rajas? क्या माटी पलीत कर दी इनकी बेचारों की. यू नो, लुक एट माय राजास, दे आर लिटरली बेगर्स नाउ. मतलब क्या व्हाट स्टेटस दे यूज्ड टू एंजॉय एंड व्हाट स्टेटस दे हैव बीन रिड्यूस्ड टू. दिस इज रॉन्ग यार. दिस इज अ थिंकिंग ऑफ लेमैन, दिस इज थिंकिंग ऑफ अ जमींदार आल्सो, दिस इज थिंकिंग ऑफ अ राजा आल्सो, राइट. इफ आई लुक एट द नोबिलिटी, राइट, व्हाट इज देयर स्टेटस? अर्लियर दे यूज्ड टू हैव रेड लाइट ऑन देयर कार्स, ठीक है. नाउ द गवर्नमेंट हैज रिमूव्ड द रेड लाइट आल्सो, राइट. सो देयरफॉर व्हाट काइंड ऑफ स्टेटस? Right, they are not even mansabdars now, right? Their status have been removed like anything. So therefore this is wrong यार. मतलब ठीक है, fine, but some इज्जत तो होना चाहिए ना mansabdar, मतलब traditional mansabdar. If I look at the zamindars, भाई in our rural society जिन लोगों का रसूख होता था, those people who were having some status in the rural society, they were zamindars, right? They used to, if they are very big, they used to have some private armies, some private forts also, right? So therefore these are the people of my society, right? And look at what has happened to them, right? Peasants, if I look at myself, it was never the case that my occupancy rights are not respected. Even when Ijardari system was there, even when I revolted because of Ijardari system, no one forced me out of my land. They came with their, you know, lathyals, they came with their force, they oppressed me, they took away all of my money. But no one asked me to get out of my land. But now look at this British system. They have created a land market, that people they can buy land, people they can mortgage land, consequently there can be loss of land. Earlier these moneylenders, they were considered outsiders to the rural society. In our first lecture or second lecture we had written that Ijardas, they were outsiders to the rural economy. Ijardas were men of money, merchants, moneylenders who won the right to collect revenue in an auction. They were outsiders to the rural economy. In the rural life, peasant is there, zamindar is there, jagirdar is there. That is a rural life, right? But now under the Britishers, under the Mughals, these moneylenders, they entered somewhat, but under the Britishers they have entered much more strongly, and now we are indebted to them. Now they are oppressing us with high interest rates. There is loss of land, they are taking away our lands. ये सब गलत है. This never used to take place. This never used to take place earlier. So therefore ऐसा जमीन से तो नहीं हटाया जाता था. I always had occupancy rights. So this is wrong. Artisan is saying that since thousands of years my products were exported, but now because of the industrial revolution, right, there is loss of this thing which is taking place, right? So although Indian economy is largely agrarian economy, but they will have this grievance, the artisans, they will have this grievance, right? So this kind of thing. So whatever nahi theek hai. Look at the temples and mosques, they are charging tax on land of God. कैसे लोग हैं यार ये? What kind of people are they? So therefore this is the meaning of the term or the phrase that everyone agreed upon the fact that the British rule is immoral. मतलब जो भी है ना, polity, society, economy, culture, ये इन्होंने सब गलत कर दिया है. And a common feeling was कि I simply want to press the factory reset button on my phone. I want to go to settings, I want to search reset. Two options are there: factory reset, warning is given, this will remove all data and settings. Press. press it as soon as possible. Factory reset. I want factory reset. I want these Britishers out of Hindustan. मुझे सब वैसा चाहिए जैसा पहले था. This kind of scenario. So write down. Whole rural society had fear. Whole rural society had fear. Whole rural society had fear. Whole rural society had fear that their religion is under threat. Whole rural society had fear that their religion is under threat. That their religion is under threat. That their religion is under threat. Dash. First a point, since 1813, comma, inflow of Christian missionaries. Since 1813, comma, inflow of Christian missionaries. 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 And forced conversions. And forced conversions were done. And forced conversions were done. And forced conversions were done under police protection. And forced conversions were done under police protection. Under police protection. Next point, socio-religious reforms of British. Socio-religious reforms of British. Socio-religious reforms of British. Escalated. Socio-religious reforms of British escalated. Escalated. Fear that. Escalated. Fear that. Escalated. Fear that. British wanted to destroy. Escalated. 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 Fear that British wanted to destroy traditional customs. British wanted to destroy traditional customs and practices. Traditional customs and practices. Wanted to destroy traditional customs and practices. Example. Example. Abolition of Sati 1829. Abolition of Sati 1829. Example. Abolition of Sati SATI 1829. And Hindu Widow Remarriages Act. And Hindu Widow Remarriages Act 1856. Hindu Widow Remarriages Act 1856. Hindu Widow Remarriages Act 1856. Later on, when we will be discussing the socio-religious reforms, they will mention at one point that there was Shastra-based debate on the issue that whether there should be widow remarriage or not among Hindus. And we will write down that the orthodox sections, that is, who did not want reform, they were victorious. That is, they won the Shastra-based debate. That is, they were able to prove with the help of scriptures that under Hinduism, widows, they are not allowed to remarry. Under Hinduism, widows remarriage, it is not allowed. Right? And therefore, it is a traditional Hindu practice. You can say yes to it, you can say no to it. Right? Even if you say no to it, then change should happen as a product of community itself. Hindus deciding that time has changed and we should move towards widow remarriages. Who are you, Firangi, to bring Hindu Widow Remarriages Act and tell us that we cannot, that widow remarriages, they are legal? Who are you? What is your jurisdiction? What authority you have? Issues of authority. तुम्हें क्या पड़ी है? Why do you care? Okay, white man's burden. काम करो अपना white man's burden. This kind of scenario. Sati abolition 1829. So when we discuss socio-religious reform, they will mention Dharma Sabha of Radhakanta Dev. Dharma Sabha of Radhakanta Dev opposed Raja Ram Mohan Roy's Brahmo Samaj. And there was Shastra-based debate between the two organizations. Dharma Sabha argued for the position that Sati, it is in line with the Indian Shastras. That Sati is there in the Indian Shastras. Whereas Raja Ram Mohan Roy argued that Sati is murder as per every Shastra. That means at least a significant number of people were there who believed that Sati as a practice, it is right in Hinduism. Sati as a practice, it is right in Hinduism, right? So therefore that kind of scenario. ठीक है, तो ये है Sati was right in its purest form. Sati was very, very spiritual kind of scenario. For example, the religious gurus, they say that women, they have surpassed the men in terms of the love way of spiritualism. For example, we have examples of Meera, right? That is being in love with God, right? Men, mostly when you see men are those people who are sannyasis. Men are those men who have achieved a really high level of spiritualism. Those are those people who have not reached it through the sense of attachment towards another individual. It is through detachment. That is, we are not attached to anyone. We are not attached to our mother, our parents, our sons, our brothers. We are detached, right? And therefore we are meditating. We are into ourselves. That's it. Sannyasis, right? Those are the great people, right? Great names are there. But in the case of women, such examples are there which have achieved the level of, you know, spirituality, or that level of spirituality, not through attachment, not through detachment, but with amazing sense of attachment to the entity which they call, which they feel God, right? So therefore इस प्रकार से जो सती जब होता था, so if a woman is so much devoted or so much in love, not the word devoted, but in love, right, with the husband, that if the husband is not there, then she voluntarily does not have any reason to be alive, right? She feels that there is no meaning, right? There is nothing, right? So she is doing sati. So in that purest form of sati was, you know, spiritual in nature, right? But what do the religious gurus, they say with respect to sati becoming a corrupt practice? Because in social religious reforms, soon we'll be discussing that there were degeneration in the recent times. So therefore, in the, for example, Aurobindo Ghosh, he criticizes that yes, sati was murder. In its purest form, it was there, but otherwise sati is murder, right? For example, your Osho also says this, that sati in its degenerated form was nothing but murder. So what is the degenerated form? Let's say there is any family pressure, that is, our family name will come down if you do not become sati after death of your husband. Log kya kahenge? That you are not a pure wife. So therefore their element of force comes. The whole spiritualism goes to dustbin. If there is element of force, then you are doing this sati because of family pressure, or someone is forcing you. Imagine some चार लोगों ने आपको पकड़ा हुआ है and they are forcing you to sit on the husband's pyre. That is चिता. That is nothing but murder. Or in fact यहाँ तक आ गया है that if there is any woman who is doing sati on her own, but what are the reasons for that? If the reason is कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, if the reason is सम्मान, if the reason is pride, that मेरा नाम होना चाहिए that I became a sati, that in the past throughout our families, whenever anyone became widow, she became a sati, and therefore I should also become a sati. If these are reasons, then it is shift away from the purest form of sati, and it is nothing but suicide. Then it is not spiritualism, it is suicide, right? So therefore, even मतलब अगर भावना अगर आपकी प्यार की नहीं है, if the reason is not love, it is even anything, any kind of dvesh, any kind of jealousy, or any kind of, you know, this thing that how will my, you know, family members look upon me, any kind of external pressure inside you also, that is also impure, right? So anyways, so that debate will take place later on when we discuss sati. But abolition of sati, मैं आपको ये कह रहा हूँ that there can be, there were many Hindus who believed that fine, we are not saying that that family pressure for sati it is right, but sati as a practice in its purest form, it is allowed in the sense. So why are you abolishing it? Do something else. But there can be such people, right, who have a problem, right? So therefore this feeling will come that they are trying to destroy our religious practices, this kind of scenario, right? So basically reforms, they should be a product of social movement. अब ऐसे तो there are many communities in the past which used to do child sacrifice, animal sacrifice, child sacrifice, right? Human sacrifice also in some of the communities, right? But they are doing it because they feel it is right, right? From your perspective it is wrong, but for it to change there should be social reform rather than some Firangi bringing law like a schoolmaster or like a headmaster. So write down एग्जाम्पल क्या लिखा हमने, हिंदू विडो रिमैरेजेस एक्ट 1856 प्लस अबॉलिशन ऑफ सती 1829, फुल स्टॉप. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, लेक्स लोकी एक्ट 1850. लेक्स लोकी एक्ट, लेक्स लोकी एक्ट 1850, लेक्स लोकी एक्ट 1850, लेक्स लोकी एक्ट 1850 स्लैश रिमूवल ऑफ रिलीजियस डिसेबिलिटीज एक्ट. Prakriti is saying even if it was allowed, it does not mean you have to die. भाई जहां पे तो have to हो गया, वहां पे वो प्योरेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ सती है ही नहीं. आपकी मतलब आपकी मर्जी है, मतलब बेसिकली उसमें यह है कि समाज कह रहा है, मतलब अब ठीक है वो उस वाली डिबेट में नहीं जाना चाहता मैं. हैव टू तो है ही नहीं वहां पे. कोई ऐसा नहीं है दैट यू आर डीपली इन लव, यू फील वन, फाइन, यू स्टिल वांट टू लिव, लिव. नो, कोई हैव टू तो है ही नहीं. But it is what? It is actually opposite. For example, if you are so much devoted, in ancient times, let's say, if you are so much devoted to your, husband, right, that you feel that your Atma is one, and you do not have anything and to look up, मतलब तुम चाहती नहीं, जीना नहीं चाहते, मैं क्या करूं, ठीक है, you do not want to live, right, and if after that, for those reasons, if you are wanting to do sati, right, if you are wanting to do sati, right, and symbolic thing is there that dead body is also present, you want to do sati, then the rest of the people or the thing, the samaj is accepting that fine, because you are doing sati because of spiritual reasons, then fine, we allow it. It is negation. Otherwise anyone doing suicide, कोई भी सभ्य समाज allow करेगा कि चलो तुम जाके suicide कर लो? कोई नहीं करेगा ना. So it is allowing that. Why? Because you are doing it not because of any internal force, internal have to, not because of any external have to. So therefore fine, we are allowing it. मतलब ये रिवर्स है. और ठीक है, मतलब इट इज नेगेशन कि ठीक है ये ठीक नहीं है, दैट समवन इज डाइंग लाइक दिस, फाइन, वी आर अलाउिंग इट बिकॉज एक एक्सेप्शन है, दैट बिकॉज ऑफ एक्स्ट्रा लेवल ऑफ सम स्पिरिचुअलिज्म. हैव टू तो है ही नहीं. हैव टू तो कहीं पे भी नहीं है, इंटरनल हैव टू भी नहीं है, एक्सटर्नल हैव टू भी नहीं है, राइट. सो राइट डाउन लेक्स लोकी एक्ट 1850 स्लैश रिमूवल ऑफ रिलीजियस disabilities, removal of religious disabilities act slashed caste disabilities removal act, caste disabilities removal act, caste disabilities removal act 1850, caste disabilities removal act 1850, caste disabilities removal act 1850 dash, it gave right of inheritance, it gave right of inheritance, it gave right of inheritance to Hindu and Muslim converts, it gave right of inheritance to Hindu and Muslim converts to other religions, Hindu and Muslim converts to other religions, Hindu and Muslim converts to other religions, and therefore escalated convergence, and therefore escalated convergence to Christianity, 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 right. Next point, British began taxing revenue free lands, British began taxing revenue free lands, British began taxing revenue free lands of religious sects, revenue free lands of religious sects, comma, temples and mosques, comma, temples and mosques, comma, temples and mosques, Therefore, Hindus, Muslims both, therefore, Hindus, Muslims both felt threat to religion. Therefore, Hindus, Muslims both felt threat to religion. Hindus, Muslims both felt threat to religion. Plus Pandits and Maulvis. Pandits and Maulvis. Pandits and Maulvis spread hatred. Pandits and Maulvis spread hatred. Pandits and Maulvis spread hatred against British. Pandits and Maulvis spread hatred against British among people and sepoys. Against British among people and sepoys. Against British among people and sepoys. So therefore Pandits are there, right? Plus Sadhus are there, Maulvis are there. They'll be holding meetings, they'll be traveling from one place to another, one house to another, right? For example, asking for bhiksha or maybe for some sermon, right? They will also be going to the barracks. Why? Because a war is coming, you do not know whether you'll be alive or not, and therefore just before going to war you want the blessings of your respective gods. So therefore Pandits and Maulvis, they were allowed in the barracks also. So when they are meeting the sepoys, when they are sepoys of different cantonments, when they are meeting the people, so over a period of time they continue to spread hatred against the British, right? So for example, they can tell the sepoys that I do not know कि भई अच्छा, so when are you converting to Christianity, right? The sepoy will be like क्या कह रहे हो, कह नहीं देख नहीं रहे, देखो ये Christian missionaries यहाँ घूम रहे हैं, what kind of thing it is, right? Some rumor is there that आजकल तो you are having cow fat, right? So therefore I don't think I would be required to come because no more a Hindu now, right? So therefore why don't you do anything about it? So therefore this kind of scenario. Similarly among the civilian population, spreading hatred that चलो अच्छा हुआ तुमने आज भिक्षा दे दी, अदरवाइज मुझे लगा दरवाजा खोलूंगा तो अंदर से कोई क्रिश्चियन निकलेगा. Because see, religious conversions are taking place. पता नहीं कब तक रहेगा धर्म, right? So therefore they are spreading hatred among the common men and the sepoys. This is the reason that when we discuss 1885 formation of Indian National Congress, there is a controversy theory called safety valve theory, right? That A.O. Hume, he got reports from the sadhus that a revolt is 1857 like revolt is about to take place, right? And that became the reason, as per that controversy theory, that A.O. Hume set up INC as a safety wall. What is a safety wall? Safety wall is nothing but cooker ki city. Okay? So anyways, we'll come to that later on when we discuss formation of the INC. But यहाँ पे मैं क्या highlight करना चाहता हूँ? Usually we take it as fun कि क्या पागल था A.O. Hume. A.O. Hume saying that that he has got reports from sadhus. है ना, पढ़ने में बड़ा weird सा लगता है that sadhus, they are giving him reports, secret reports that revolt is going to take place. No, he is not stupid man. Or his autobiographer Wedderburn, who wrote his autobiography, who said this, is he stupid? They cleared UPSC exam when it was far more tough than today, when these are all civil servants. तो बेवकूफ है ये लोग, गांजा वांजा मार के थोड़ी क्या कहते हैं, मतलब ऑटोग्राफ लिख दी उन्होंने. They are not stupid. ठीक, गांजा चरस सफीम सब डाल डाल के लिखे जा रहे हैं, नहीं. लॉजिक क्या है? लॉजिक ये है that even in the 1857 revolt, who was the postman of the revolt? That is, who was the person who was transferring this information from one place to another, that now you should revolt, sooner revolt is coming, sooner revolt is coming. These were the sadhus. So the sadhus, Maulvis, these people, they'll be roaming around in the common man. ये सबसे बात करेंगे, right? They are the people who are the postman, right, of that time, and therefore they have the real ground knowledge, right? They are the intelligence bureau of that time. Sadhus and Maulvis, they are the intelligence bureau of that time. IB, they know what is happening on the ground. That is why he is saying that I got reports, secret reports, because 1857 revolt में भी तो ये लोग थे who were spreading hatred and who was passing on information from one place to another, knowing that what is happening. That is the logic. Anyways, next point, there was common feeling that British rule is immoral. There was common feeling that British rule is immoral. due to all above mentioned grievances, there was common feeling that British rule is immoral. IMMORAL, immoral. Due to all above mentioned grievances. Therefore, goal of 1857 revolt was to restore pre-British order, political, economic and socio-religious order. Pre-British political, economic and socio-religious order. In a way, have we written a very long answer to that particular question that we wrote down? What began as a fight for religion ended as a war of independence, as everyone agreed that there needs to be restoration of the pre-British order, and King of Delhi was a rightful representative of that particular order. Right? So in a way, we have written many of the components of that particular answer. Now we go on a break of 10 minutes, and after that we will see that why the Britishers were victorious in the 1857 revolt. Hanji? Sikh community supported the Britishers? No. That is another reason. We'll discuss it. You ask the question when the class resumes. Okay. You ask the question when the class resumes, so the other students are also able to know the answer. So bit time bachao hai, so I'm just. So some reforms were good and liberal. All reforms were good and liberal. The point is of jurisdiction. Right? For example, later on we will discuss that Bal Gangadhar. This is bonus. ठीक है, अभी time बचा हुआ है. ठीक है. So like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, we see him in a positive light. Right? उनके बारे में बोला जाता है that he did political recruitment of God Ganpati by starting Ganpati festival, Shivaji festival, by taking side of the Orthodox Hindus. He did political recruitment of religion. That is, he got the lazy Hindus out on the streets by using religion. And once they were out on the streets, he started giving nationalistic speeches. So this is how he converted religious energy into political nationalistic energy. Right? That kind of scenario. Right? So for example, he said that we should take revenge from the British. In a way, he hinted this, that we should take revenge from the British the way Shivaji took revenge from Afzal Khan. Like Afzal Khan had come for a meeting, but he took out a dagger to kill Shivaji, and in return Shivaji took revenge of the treachery by splitting the stomach apart of Afzal Khan. Similarly, we should also identify the treachery of the British, this kind of scenario. And later on, the hated plague commissioner Rand, R-A-N-D, was assassinated by Chapekar brothers. Right? This is happening in 1896. Right? So therefore, he is using the heroes from the Indian political history, and he is using religion also. And so पहला गाना चलेगा religious, and after दूसरा गाना चलेगा देशभक्ति का. V. Savarkar used to, for example, write songs for the Ganpati festival, right? Nationalistic songs, right? So this is how use religion to convert it into what you call as your political energy. Similarly, in the case of Khilafat movement, Ali brothers also did the same. The issue was religious issue, right? We'll discuss the Khilafat movement later on. Right? Issue was religious issue, but in the Khilafat movement, they tried to convert it into anti-British. Right, so that is what is happening. Right, Mahatma Gandhi did the same. Ram Rajya, we should bring Ram Rajya. Mahatma Gandhi is using religion to convert it into political energy. Why? Because the Indian society was very religious society. Right. Similarly, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose says that Swami Vivekananda was spiritual father of Indian national movement in Bengal. Spiritual father, manaki cultural nationalism getting converted into. So cultural nationalism or religion is not always negative. Nowadays we consider religion as a very negative thing. Right? Anyone who seems religious, right, he's seen as a negative thing. As thodi hai. Mahatma Gandhi khud religion, because religion is a great source of energy. What matters is how you use it. Right? So therefore Bal Gangadhar Tilak supported Orthodox Hindus. Why? Because he wanted to convert. And once he had converted, it is the same Bal Gangadhar Tilak who is responsible for totally secular attitude during the Home Rule League movement of 1916-18. And then Lucknow Pact of 1916 between Muslim League and this thing. Muhammad Ali Jinnah used to fight court cases of Bal Gangadhar Tilak. But at that point of time, Muhammad Ali Jinnah was secular. At one point of time, Muhammad Ali Jinnah was secular, moderate. Later on, he realized that to capture political power, he has to use communalism. And he became the most worst communal leader that one can ever see. Right? In his personal life, he used to have wine. इस प्रकार से कोई टेंशन ही नहीं थी. But otherwise, you see, he was very, very communal. Right? Why? Political power. That kind of scenario. Pooja is asking, is Rajputs and Kshatriyas same? नहीं, Kshatriyas का part है Rajputs. Right? In the ancient Varnashram system, caste does not matter. Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, they supported Varnashram system. Right? Swami Vivekananda supported Varnashram system. Swami Dayanand Saraswati supported Varnashram system. But all of them criticized caste system. Aurobindo supported Varnashram system. But he said that any system which does not change is amenable to decay. Aurobindo is saying this. And caste system is nothing but a degeneration. Everyone hated caste system. You talk to any, you read about any, person who has good knowledge of Hinduism, right? All of them, they are anti-caste. Why? Because caste was a degeneration. In the Varnashram system, like in the case of the Western system, it is working class, peasant class, capitalist class, landlord class. It is the way to organize a society, right? And Karl Marx says what? Karl Marx basically says that the capitalists, they are always anti-working class interest. Why? Because capitalists, they work for profit, and wages of the workers, they basically cut down the profits. And therefore, interests of the working class, that is wages, are always opposed to the interest of the capitalist class, that is profits. Mahatma Gandhi says, this system of hatred, this is a system of hatred. Indian system is not of hatred. In the Indian system, profession-based classification is there. Profession-based classification are there, right? Shudras are, for example, those who follow other professions which are not in the first three categories or the first equal categories, right? So Shudras, other professions. Uske baad aapka Vaishya, that is those who are traders. Then your Brahmins, those who are scholars, and then Kshatriyas, who give protection to all of these three. Kshatriyas are those who give protection to Shudras, who give protection to your Brahmins, who gives protection to this thing. And anyone can be a Brahmin. Within the same life, you can convert from a Brahmin to a Shudra by changing your profession. And within the same life, you can get converted from a Vaishya to a Shudra by changing your profession. And there is nothing wrong in it. There have been many Shudra kings in the Indian history. All are equal. Shudras, there is no hierarchy. In the ancient Varnashram system, there is no hierarchy. Shudras is equal to Vaishya is equal to Kshatriyas is equal to Brahmins. Right? And father can be a Shudra, son can be a Kshatriya. Why? Because profession changed. So therefore, your category changed. As simple as that. Right? By birth, there is nothing in the traditional Varnashram system. So that was the ancient system. But degeneration happened over a period of time, and caste became something which is by birth, something which is hierarchical. मतलब उसमें कोई ऊपर है, कोई नीचे है. Right? Something which cannot be changed. Right? It became rigid. Right? That was the scenario. So caste is a degenerated form. Right? उस प्रकार से है. So now let us begin. Time overshoot ही हो गया. हाँ. What about the Sikh community? Sikh community stayed loyal to the Britishers. Why did it stay loyal to the Britishers in the 1857 revolt? The reason was that the princes of the Sikh community, they hated the Awadh sepoys, that it is because of you that annexation of Punjab took place in 1849, and before that the defeat took place in 1845. And now when your Awadh is taken over, you expect that we will support you. So therefore this kind of feeling was there. This kind of feeling was there. That is why the Sikh community, it stayed pro-British during the 1857 revolt. This kind of scenario. You know? Just 5 years back, just 7 years back, you took over our Punjab. Who was fighting for the British? Awadh. Now your Awadh is taken over. You have the same grievance. Now you expect us to help. Sorry, you will not. This kind of scenario was there. Right. That is the question. How can we call it a first war of independence? There are some negatives, there are some positives. Right? So therefore answer is grey. Life is not black and white. You are a good person or a bad person. There is no one answer. Everyone is a good person from his own perspective. But from the outside perspective, you are a good person, bad person, percentage will come out. That 80% of the times you are a good person, but 20% of the time you have some dark secrets. right? In exam we'll be writing the answer that it was much more than a simple Sipahi mutiny, right? There was patriotism, there was anti-British sentiment, there was decent form of unity. However, 100% unity was not there. For example, the one point that you mentioned, that Sikh community was not, supporting. All the regions did not participate. The whole army did not mutiny. Half of the army mutinied. So therefore, it was 70%. So if we draw 0, Britishers, they will say 0. Veer Savarkar will say 100. Karl Marx will say 100. Our answer is 70%. Much more than 0, but yes, less than 100. We'll write down. Right, so write down next, why British won? Why British won? Write down a question, why British won? Right? So there are some aspects because of which the Britishers, they are victorious. The first component that comes into operation is unity. Let's say वहाँ से start कर लेते हैं. So in terms of unity, the whole of the British army did not revolt. Only Bengal army revolted. Bengal and Madras regiments, they were shant, they were quiet, and the Sikh and the Gurkhas, they actively supported the British. Right? So plus, neutral, minus. Right? And therefore whole of the British army had not revolted. Had that been the case, we would have been victorious. Right? Then we'll try to see that why did they support? जैसे Sikh वाला example मैंने आपको दिया. Right? Then those sections who benefited from the British rule, or who were not so much oppressed by the Britishers, they stayed loyal or they stayed neutral. For example, in the case of Bengal, the Zamindars of Bengal, they had benefited from permanent settlement of 1793. We'll discuss soon. Permanent settlement of 1793, it made Zamindar owners of the lands from which earlier they were only land revenue collectors. Who are Zamindars? Zamindars' personal estates, they are called milkiyats. From others' lands, they collect land revenue. The Britishers in 1793 said in Bengal that the lands from which you are collecting land revenue, consider them yours. And therefore, they greatly benefited economically from the Britishers. Western educated middle class, they could not have carried AK-47 or a bazooka. Fine. But Western educated middle class, they also benefited from the British rule. For example, you are a lawyer, studying which law? British law, applied in British courts. You are a judge, implementing which law? British law. You are a bureaucrat, give exam of UPSC by doing what? By basically studying the Western education. You are a professor, teaching what? Western humanities or Western sciences or medicines. You are a doctor, became doctor, implementing what? Allopathy, not Ayurveda. Right? So therefore you are the Western educated middle class who has greatly benefited from the British rule, and therefore you stayed loyal to the British. In fact, you believe that the British, they will modernize India. Right? Similarly, in the case of Punjab, canals were introduced in 1850s, and therefore peasantry had benefited from irrigation. They stayed loyal, they stayed neutral. In the case of Ryotwari areas are Madras, scam B. Ryotwari was a B grade scam. Bombay, Sindh, Coorg, Assam, Madras. In the Ryotwari areas, like in the case of Mehlwari areas, the land ownership was given to the actual cultivator. So therefore, the common man benefited with being a landowner. Right? But then you can say that, sir, just now you made us right that in the Mehlwari areas also the land ownership was given in most cases to the actual cultivator. And sir, there is high land revenue ka problem hai, money lenders ka problem hai. So is that not problem in Madras, Bombay, etc.? Yes, there is problem, but luckily for them, for the Britishers, in 1855, Madras Torture Commission report. Madras Torture Commission report. It provided relief to the common man. Right? So probably It's probably if that relief had not taken place, probably Madras and Bombay, these areas would have also actively participated in the 1857 revolt. But just 2 years before the 1857 revolt, Madras Torture Commission report is coming, therefore solving the grievances of the common man. That's why Madras, some uprising takes place, but majorly it is quiet. Majorly it is quiet, right? So therefore, this is the kind of scenario which is happening. Those sections, those rulers who did not lose their kingdoms because of doctrine of lapse or some other annexations, they are staying loyal. They acted selfishly. They were in a wait watch mode. That is, ऊंट किस करवट बैठेगा. That is, if it is seen that convincingly the Indians will be victorious, then we will also revolt. But we will wait and watch. Just in case, what if the British turn out to be ultimately victorious? My kingdom will be lost. Sorry, I am not coming out in the open. So they stayed neutral. Right? So therefore, those kings who did not lose their kingdoms, they did not support. Those talukdars who did not lose their estates, in Mehlwari we mentioned, in most cases, Ryot was made landowner. But it means that in some cases, Zamidar continued to be landowner. So therefore, those Zamidars who did not lose their milkiyats, they continued to be loyal to the British, they did not revolt. Those talukdars, they continued to be loyal. And therefore, as a result, it was not India versus Britain. Had it been India versus Britain, we would have been victorious. Right? Another component that comes into operation is of leadership. Right? So in the case of India, Bahadur Shah Zafar is a very, very weak ruler. Very, very weak leader. He has no military experience. Since Nadir Shah's invasion of 1739-1740, there is no military power of the Mughals. So to naam ka hai. That means, can we say that the Indian leadership was fragmented into multiple regional leaders? Right? They do not have modern systems of coordination. They do not have postal network with them. They do not have railways under control as such. Right? So therefore, they are not able to talk to each other very, very easily. Coordination is tried, but it is not perfect. As a result, what is happening? I am under attack. I want help, but the other regional leader is not able to send army. So some coordination was tried, but it was not perfect. Whereas the Britishers, they had postal network with them. They had a proper chain of command based military. Remember Hyder Ali? In the case of Hyder Ali 6182, we talked about risalas. And what was so positive about that organization of the military? That the ruler gives a command, by the evening that command will be implemented. That is chain of command. That is fast movement of commands from top to bottom and following of those commands in a very strong manner. Right? This kind of scenario. But this kind of modern organization was not there. Peasants are revolting, उनको कैसे आप organize करोगे? Weapon वाला issue भी है, technology वाला. For example, peasants, they are not militarily trained. Sepoys are militarily trained, but the civilians, they are not militarily trained. They do not have modern weapons. Sepoys, they have modern weapons, but what about the peasants? वो तो अपना लठ लेके चल देंगे. They have only sticks with them. Right? They do not have modern weapons with them. This kind of scenario. Right? So that is also a problem. Right? So whereas the British leadership, it is strong central leadership because it is a modern army, modern bureaucracy, proper chain of command and coordination, it is also there, technology, etc. Another component, even then we were successful, but then in October 1857, Royal Military, that is the military of Britain, it also came to help, and therefore this tilted the balance in the favor of. That is why we have written September 1857 as a date of Delhi. Delhi being under control of the Indians properly only until September 1857. After this fresh arrival of troops from Britain, the Indians, they started getting defeated. Delhi started getting defeated. Right? So therefore, support of the Royal Military was also helpful for the Britishers to be victorious. Then what is this? These are basically Jhansi, this is Kanpur, this is Lucknow, etc., etc. This kind of scenario. So because of poor coordination, the Britishers, they are not fighting all of them together. First, the Britishers, they fight them. Others, they do not come to help. Why? Because poor coordination is there. And therefore, very easily the Britishers are able to take over this. Then they attack this, take over this. Then they attack this, take over this. So because of poor coordination, one region is not able to come to help of another region. And as a result, the Britishers, they never fought us collectively. They fought us dividingly. And therefore, they were able to be successful. Then Delhi. It was a tactical mistake that all of us focused upon Delhi. That is, all the sepoys who revolted, they marched to Delhi. Delhi chalo, Delhi chalo, Delhi chalo. Why? Because Delhi was the symbol of, Delhi was the capital of the pre-British order. Calcutta was the capital of the British, but Delhi was the capital of pre-British. So Delhi had a symbol कि यहाँ पे Bahadur Shah Zafar is there. So everyone marched to Delhi. As a result, what happened? Because of this over concentration, defeat of Delhi would mean defeat of the revolt. If 80% of the troops they are present here, if Delhi is defeated, 80% of us are defeated, and British victory is seized. It is sealed. Right strategy would have been that we should have been divided. Instead of marching to Delhi, the troops, had they been not over concentrated but 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, that would have meant that the Britishers would have taken much longer time to capture whole of India or to capture the revolted area. अगर वो दिल्ली को हरा भी देते तो 20% को ही हराया, 80% बाकी है दोस्त. Right? Even if they had defeated Delhi, they would have defeated only 20% of the army. 80% would still have been present. But because of over concentration in Delhi, this problem it is coming. Right? So fierce fighting takes place in Delhi, but we get concentrated. Right? Then tactic. Best tactic would have been guerrilla warfare tactic. Always remember, if you are a peasant, you are not militarily trained. Best tactic is guerrilla warfare tactics, or otherwise in general, if you are militarily weak and samne wala military is strong, best tactic is guerrilla warfare tactics. What does nefarious state of Pakistan does? It does not have the guts to fight a head-on war. Kaya. What does it do? Bleed India. What is its policy? Bleed India with 1,000 cuts. खुद ही कट गए हैं. अलग मैटर है. 1965 में करगिल में, ठीक है, बैंड बजा हुआ है उनका, अच्छे तरीके से बजेगा भी, ठीक है. बट द पॉइंट इज, व्हाट इज देयर पॉलिसी? Why did they do 26/11? Why did they do attack on parliament? They do not have the guts to fight a head-on war, and therefore this terrorism that they are doing, it is kind of a form of guerrilla warfare tactics. What is guerrilla warfare tactics? Guerrilla warfare tactics is nothing but, as you have discussed earlier also, right, it is like surprise attacks. Right, surprise attacks. It is the mosquito in the night who troubles you. As soon as you turn on the light, he is not there. Right? It is he is doing guerrilla warfare tactics because he knows that one and he is gone. So he is not ready to fight a head-on war. Right? So therefore, as soon as you turn off the light, then it comes. And then like you turn on the light, he is not there. Right? Guerrilla warfare tactics. So when you are militarily weak, the best tactic is guerrilla warfare tactics. Right? And Kuwar Singh was very, very brilliant in this guerrilla warfare tactics. His army ran into the forest. Jungle ka rasta, that is the ways around the forest, they were not known by the army of the East India Company, and multiple defeats after defeats were done by Kuwar Singh. Kuwar Singh, who was very aged, probably he was 70 or 80 years old at that particular point of time. Right? Still he was able to met out such defeats. Tatya Tope also tried to follow the guerrilla warfare tactics and was decently successful to some extent. But number one name in guerrilla warfare tactics is of Kuwar Singh. So therefore, ideal tactics from our side should have been the guerrilla warfare tactics. That was another mistake from our side. So these are the reasons because of which the Britishers, they are victorious. Also, any which ways, money is always important. Right? Peasants, they do not have money with them. Sepoys, they do not have money with them. The Indian rulers, they are staying neutral. If they had money, they could have given that money. But Indian rulers, they are staying neutral. Right? So therefore, that kind of scenario. Indian rulers की भी ज़्यादा खास औकात नहीं है. Why? Because they have signed subsidy lines. They signed subsidy lines, right? So therefore, fine, the army which is stationed, it is having Indians. It might have revolted, but still, you know, उस प्रकार से. So please write down first point. Sepoys lacked financial resources. Sepoys lacked financial resources. Sepoys lacked financial resources. Second point, lack of modern weapons and training. Sepoys lacked financial resources. Lack of modern weapons and training. Lack of modern weapons and training among peasants. Lack of modern weapons and training among peasants. And training among peasants. Next, British had better leadership. British had better leadership. British had better leadership. Plus strong centralized bureaucracy in army. Strong centralized bureaucracy and army. with proper chain of command. Strong centralized bureaucracy and army with proper chain of command. Plus effective communication system. Plus effective communication system. Proper chain of command plus effective communication system. Effective communication system. Next, lack of unified leadership. Lack of unified effective communication system. Next, lack of unified leadership on Indian side. Lack of unified leadership on Indian side. As multiple regional leaders. As multiple regional leaders. Therefore, coordination suffered. Therefore, coordination suffered. Therefore, coordination suffered. In bracket star लगा के not absent. In bracket star लगा के not absent or zero. Not absent or zero. Brackets closed. Not absent or zero. तो इसलिए हमने शब्द का इस्तेमाल किया communication suffered. Why? Because in the positives we'll be writing down later that some coordination was done. So it was not zero, but yes, it was not proper. Right? Life is grey, not black and white. Right? Next sub point, tactical mistakes. Next point, tactical mistakes. Tactical mistakes. Dash. Rebels slash sepoys focused on coming to Delhi. Rebels slash sepoys focused on coming to Delhi. Therefore, movement did not spread. Therefore, revolt did not spread. Therefore, revolt did not spread properly. Revolt did not spread properly. And defeat of Delhi meant. And defeat of Delhi meant. Defeat of revolt. Defeat of Delhi meant defeat of revolt. Defeat of Delhi meant defeat of revolt. सब लोग वहीं इकट्ठे हो गए और वहां पे एक बॉम्ब भी डाल दिया, सब मर गए. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. Delhi was defeated. वो तो हमने शुरुआत में लिख लिया है that by September 1857, after September 1857, Delhi is getting defeated. Even after concentrating all of our power, right, in Delhi, if we are still not able to defeat them, why do we think that by segregating our powers into 20%, 20%, 20%, we could have been victorious? Answer is there. For example, when you study internal security, or when you are studying the terrorism by Pakistan, right? So therefore, see why terrorism is very effective or was effective until recently, right? Why the Maoism has had troubled us for so long. Why? Because of this thing. सारे के सारे मच्छर एक जगह हैं. All the mosquitoes are at one place. आप हिट लेके आए, आपने मार दिया, सारे मर गए. But if the मच्छर्स are spread out, is it easier for you or tough for you? The point is that it is not necessary that we are all together, right? ऐसा थोड़ी. Why Russia is not attacking with all its military might at just one place? Doof, doof, doof. Why not like this? Why it is also trying to spread out, engaging persons on multiple fronts. That is a much better military strategy than engaging person on just one front, right? So therefore it is military strategy. It is not necessary that if 100 units are concentrated at just one place, you will be victorious, and if you are spread out, you will not be victorious. It depends. Strategy उस पर depend करता है, right? So that is what is there, है ना? वरना तो फिर माओइज्म की प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं होती. Maoists, they are not militarily very strong. Maoists, they are not militarily very strong, right? But they are following guerrilla warfare tactics, and therefore they are troubling the traditional warfare. So traditional warfare versus guerrilla warfare, this kind of scenario. औरंगजेब से तो ज्यादा strong नहीं थे शिवाजी, औरंगजेब से तो ज्यादा strong नहीं थे मराठास, but see, by following guerrilla warfare strategies, they were able to start defeating the Aurangzeb by 1705. So therefore ऐसा कोई necessary नहीं होता है, military strategy होता है, right? Due to which the movement did not spread properly, and defeat of Delhi meant defeat of revolt. Plus ideal warfare would have been guerrilla warfare. 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 Example by Kunwar Singh. Example by Kunwar Singh dash most successful. Example by Kunwar Singh dash most successful. Kunwar Kunwar Singh dash most successful. Who was most successful? Next, due to localized nature of civil uprisings, due to localized nature of civil uprisings, comma, British could defeat rebels. Due to localized nature of civil uprisings, British could defeat rebels one after another. This one after another. So in brackets you can make this to understand it in a layman terms. For example, we have revolted. These are different areas which are active: Lucknow, Kanpur, right, Bareilly, etc., etc. So therefore, coordination, it is absent. So what is this? This is poor coordination. Right? Britishers, they attack and defeat. Britishers, they attack and defeat. Poor coordination, that is no help by B to A. No help by B to A. This is B, this is A, right? So A is under attack, Britishers are attacking A, right? Because the coordination is poor, because proper chain of command, proper unified leadership is not there. So ideally B should come to help of A by sending additional forces to defeat the Britishers at A. But that help does not come, A gets defeated, and then the Britishers, they will attack B, then they will attack C, then they will attack D, and therefore due to localized nature, localized means unconnected. Localized means unconnected. You might have heard the name LAN. LAN सुना है? LAN, local area network, LAN. So जब हम hostel में होते हैं, so only the rooms of the hostel are connected by LAN. They are not connected with the outside world, but you can play Counter-Strike or some other games within the hostel. It is a local area network. It is localized. One hostel is not connected with another hostel, is not connected with another hostel. This kind of scenario, right? So that kind of, so it is localized. Localized means unconnected. Unconnected कैसे है? When system of communication is weak, when A is attacked, help is not coming from B, right? So उस प्रकार से, so coordination is weak, and therefore they could defeat us one by another. So collectively हमारा आर्मी होगा 1000 and Britishers का आर्मी होगा let's say 300, but A पे तो कितना आर्मी है? 300 तो नहीं है. A पे होगा आर्मी से let's say 200, तो यहां वो जीत गए. B पे कितना आर्मी है? 200, वहां भी जीत गए. So collectively हमसे कभी वो लड़े ही नहीं. They never fought us collectively because of localized nature, right? Next point, whole British Indian army did not revolt. Whole British Indian army did not revolt. Whole British Indian army did not revolt. Dash Bombay and Madras regiments. Bombay Madras regiments. Bombay Madras regiments stayed quiet. Bombay Madras regiments stayed quiet while Sikh and Gurkhas, Bombay and Madras regiments stayed quiet while Sikh and Gurkhas actively supported, Sikh and Gurkhas actively supported British. Sikh and Gurkhas actively supported British. Loyalty to salt, right? Sikh and Gurkhas actively supported British. In brackets, but max size was of Bengal army, therefore, overall, half of army revolted. Max size was of Bengal army, therefore overall half of army revolted. So सबसे बड़ा बंगाल आर्मी वाला कॉम्पोनेंट था. तो ओवरऑल अगर हम देखें तो half of army had revolted, right? That kind of scenario. Brackets close. Next, civil rebellion was limited to North and Central India. Civil rebellion was limited to North and Central India, and only minor participation elsewhere. Right? So these are the reasons because of which the Britishers, they were victorious. Right? Also you can mention one point, last point. Arrival of fresh troops. In October 1857, arrival of fresh troops in October 1857 from Britain tilted balance in favor of British. Tilted balance in favor of British. Right? Next, write down a question. Was it a war of independence? Question. Was it a war of independence? This question is very important because revolutionaries' view is that it was a war of independence. That is, there are revolutionaries, there is Mahatma Gandhi, there is extremists, there is moderates. The view of the revolutionaries is that it was a war of independence, right? And there is a book written by Veer Savarkar called Indian War of Independence 1909 on this 1857 revolt. And many of the writings, they say that whenever any revolutionaries they were captured, from their possession this particular book was found as if it is Bible, or as if it is Gita, or as if it is Quran of the revolutionaries. That is Indian War of Independence. And the goal of the revolutionaries, be it the Ghadar movement of 1913, right, be it the Azad Hind Fauj, be it the IRA, वो discuss करेंगे हम फ्यूचर में. Always their goal was to somehow, their long-term goal was to repeat 1857 revolt. That is, they believed that in 1857 we came this close to overthrowing the British rule, and that is the only way to overthrow the British rule. The Gandhian struggle will not lead to independence. Non-violence cannot lead to independence. This was the view of revolutionaries. Right? So, similarly, couple of years back, 1.5 years back, Honorable Home Minister also stated in a statement that 1857 revolt was first war of independence. Right? So, therefore, Veer Savarkar is also saying that 1857 revolt was a war of independence fought for Swadharma and Swaraj. Swadharma means to protect our religion, Dharma. Swaraj means political independence. The question which I have also made you write down in the beginning, what began as a fight for religion, that is fight for Swadharma, ended as a war of independence, that is fight for Swaraj. Do you agree with this view? Right, this is a question that we have written. So this particular question is very, very important, that what is it a war of independence? What is the real question here? The real question here is this. So bracket में star लगा के लिखिए. That is, this is a real question. When you say War of Independence, the hidden question is that was the 1857 revolt based on modern nationalism? So basically, to answer this critical question, we need to know what is modern nationalism. To pass a judgment, a judge should always know the law first. A judge is expected that he would be knowing the law better than lawyers also. That's why he is the judge. So therefore, if someone is asking you was it a war of independence, or was 1857 revolt based on modern nationalism? First, it is your dharma to know that. Do you know that what is modern nationalism is? Only when you know what is modern nationalism, only then you will be able to say that this feature of 1857 revolt was against modern nationalism and this feature of 1857 revolt was in favor of modern nationalism. तभी हम कर पाएंगे. So idea of modern nationalism was given by the French Revolution 1789, है ना? And what did it mean? It meant that nation is not territory, nation is not land, nation is people, summation of people who feel one, right? Nation is people. Second, nation is supreme. Nation माने people, and those people, they are supreme. Example, democracy is must. Why? Because if people are supreme, then it is only the representative of the people who has fought some election and won that election who should become the ruler. How there can be just a person who, because he is just born in a family, he becomes a monarch? Monarchy is not in line with supremacy of people in the domain of polity. Democracy is in line with supremacy of people in the domain of polity. Next, slogan क्या था? Liberty, equality, fraternity. Right? So what do you mean by liberty? Liberty means that is people are not under anyone's oppression. There is no monarch, be it economics, be it politics, be it society. People, they should not be oppressed by anyone. Right? Example, if we take the example of polity, example democracy. That is, people are free. People are free from domestic oppression, people are free from foreign oppression. Then equality. Equality means that is all are French or all are Indians. This thing should not be there that you are a Hindu, you are a Muslim, you are upper caste, you are a lower caste. Indian first. Indian first. That is equality. All are born Indians, that's it. right? This sense should be there that we are Indians. We are not Hindus and Muslims fighting to overthrow the British. We are Indians or Hindustanis fighting to overthrow the British. If this statement is there, we'll say it is in line with modern nationalism or modern idea of India. Right? Next, fraternity. Fraternity simply means unity. Right? So on this basis, we are going to judge whether this Indian War of Independence was there or not there. And our conclusion is going to be that many of these features, they were present, but many of these features or some of these features were also absent. Right? Example, decent amount of unity was there, but not perfect unity. Life is grey. Example, liberty idea was there. We wanted liberty from the British. But did we want to establish democracy? No, we said we want to establish pre-British order. And what was the pre-British order? Monarchy. That Jhansi ki Rani should be the ruler, Nana Sahib should be the ruler. जनता ने ये तो नहीं कहा that there should be democracy. अगर कहती तो हम कहते कि they are properly inspired by modern nationalism. If you look at unity, for example, the slogan was Hindustan is for Hindus and Muslims. Ideally, the slogan should have been Hindustan is for Hindustanis. Then you are basically saying that Hindus are different, Muslims are different. Yes, they are united, but they are different. तो ऐसा हिंदुस्तान फॉर हिंदुस्तानीज बोलते तो ज्यादा बेटर होता, राइट? ऐसा क्यों बोल रहे हो हिंदुस्तान इज फॉर हिंदूज एंड मुस्लिम्स? कोई ऐसा बोलता है क्या इंडिया इज फॉर अपर कास्ट एंड लोअर कास्ट एंड मिडिल कास्ट एंड ओबीसी एंड हिंदूज एंड मुस्लिम्स एंड क्रिश्चियंस? ऐसा तो कोई बोलता है? हिंदुस्तान इज फॉर इंडिया इज फॉर इंडियंस, दैट्स इट, राइट? दैट काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. नेक्स्ट, इक्वालिटी, राइट? सो ये हो गया, फ्रेटर्निटी हो गया, इक्वालिटी वाला पार्ट हो गया, राइट? सो देयरफॉर ऑन दिस बेसिस विल ट्राई टू सी दैट व्हाट वाज देयर और व्हाट वाज नॉट देयर, राइट? When people are acting selfish, then unity is not there. Example, those rajas whose kingdoms were not annexed, they are not participating, that means unity is not there. Whole of Indian army not participating, that means unity is not there, right? But on the positive side also, you see, half of Indian army revolted, decent amount of unity was there. Glass is half full or glass is half empty. For the first time, people's leaders, they coordinated with each other. In the pre-1857 revolts, which we'll discuss later, if any particular revolt is taking place in Bengal, that's it. No one is communicating from Bengal to Maharashtra. कोई leaders का आपस में बातचीत नहीं हो रहा है. But for the first time, different regional leaders they tried to establish communication. पत्राचार हुआ, letters भेजे गए. That means for the first time, this sense of unity is coming among the leaders. That let us, deal with this. Right? Let us try to coordinate with each other. एक student last में बड़ा अच्छा question पूछा है. But sir, in the previous wars, for example, the Indian leaders they had communicated, right? अब तो मैंने जवाब दिया, हाँ बिल्कुल, ये क्यों, बल्कि in the third battle of Panipat also 1761 there was communication on the opposite, at least there was communication on the opposite side, right? Similarly, in the case of Mir Qasim reaching out to Shah Alam and Shuja Uddaulah, Battle of Buxar, there is communication. तो सर आप ये क्यों बोल रहे हो that there was communication for the first time? Why? Because difference is ruler of an Indian state communicating with a monarch of an Indian state, communicating with monarch of another Indian state. That happened in the past. But जनता का leader, people's leader, communicating with other people's leader, this is happening for the first time. When Jhansi ki Rani is revolting, she is not, in the eyes of the British, she is not ruler of Jhansi. Dispossessed rajas, आप ruler हुई नहीं ना फिर. If you're Khan Bahadur Khan, you're not a ruler. You're Begum Hazrat Mahal, you're not a ruler, right? So why are you revolting? On the basis of the people. So it is now you're a people's leader, right? In the Maratha wars, Maratha army participated, not people of Marathas. समझ रहे हो? In the Tipu Sultan's war, Tipu Sultan fought, not the people of Mysore. In the sense, army is fighting. It people, जनता कहे कि मेरा देश लड़ रहा है, मैं लड़ूंगा. This thing, it is not there in the rulers' wars. This thing is there when 1857 revolt is taking place, right? So for the first time, people's leaders are talking to each other. ठीक है, जनता जब एलिमेंट है ना, जनता का एलिमेंट है, लोगों का एलिमेंट है, तो वो फर्स्ट टाइम हो रहा है, राइट? तो यहां पे तो ना ही झांसी की रानी, अभी तो कोई लीडर तो रूलर तो है नहीं. झांसी की रानी was Awadh, your Jhansi was annexed in 1854. Now when Jhansi ki Rani is rising, she is rising on behalf of the people. She is fighting on the behalf of the people. Even if she is able to establish temporary rule in Jhansi, that is a product of people rising with Jhansi Ki Rani. And therefore, in her capacity as leader of the people, for the first time, regional leaders, they are talking to each other. That kind of scenario it is there. Right. So anyways, बहुत सारी चीजें. So write down first sub point. Colonial view. Colonial माने British view. Colonial view is equal to. Colonial view is equal to. Colonial view is equal to. It was primarily. It was mainly Sepoy mutiny. It was mainly Sepoy mutiny. It was mainly Sepoy mutiny due to their service related grievances. It was mainly Sepoy mutiny due to their service related grievances. Due to their service related grievances. And civil rebellion was nothing but mob violence. And civil rebellion was nothing but mob violence due to breakdown of law and order. Mob violence due to breakdown of law and order. Mob violence due to breakdown of law and order. Due to breakdown of law and order. Next point. But V.D. Savarkar, V.D. Savarkar, V.D. Savarkar called it Indian War of Independence. But V.D. Savarkar called it Indian War of Independence. V.D. Savarkar called it Indian War of Independence. Fought for Indian War of Independence. Fought for Indian War of Independence. Fought for Swadharm and Swaraj. Fought for Swadharm in brackets religion and Swaraj in brackets political independence. Fought for Swadharm in brackets religion brackets close and Swaraj in brackets political independence brackets close. Plus Karl Marx, K-A-R-L-M-A-R-X, Karl Marx called it nationalist revolt. Karl Marx called it nationalist revolt. Called it nationalist revolt. Our stand is equal to. Our stand is equal to. It was much more than a mutiny. It was much more than a mutiny. It was much more than a mutiny. Although modern nationalism was absent. Although modern nationalism was absent. Although modern nationalism was absent. Next point. As first sub point. As first sub point. Only Central and North India participated. Only Central and North India participated. Only Central and North India participated. Plus those who benefited from colonial rule. Plus those who benefited from colonial rule didn't participate. Those who benefited from colonial rule didn't participate. Example. In Ryotwari areas. Example, in Ryotwari areas. R-Y-O-T W-A-R-I. In Ryotwari areas. In brackets, Ryotwari was a scam, है ना? B grade scam था, वो अच्छा scam भी नहीं था. Right, so you can write down scam B. Scam B. Sindh, Coorg, your Assam, Madras, बॉम्बे. In Ryotwari areas, तो कौन से थे Ryotwari areas? These are the Ryotwari areas. In Ryotwari areas, Sindh, Coorg, Assam, Madras, Mumbai. In Ryotwari areas, comma, Ryots benefited. Ryots benefited. In Ryotwari areas, Ryots benefited. Ryots benefited as they became landowners. Ryots benefited with land ownership. Ryots benefited with land ownership. Ryots benefited with land ownership. Plus in Punjab, plus in Punjab, plus in Punjab, middle class peasants, plus in Punjab's middle class peasants gained from, middle class peasants gained from canal construction, gained from canal construction, 1850s, gained from canal construction, in brackets 1850s. Plus in Bengal, plus in Bengal, zamindars, plus in Bengal, zamindars became big landowners. Zamindars became big landowners after permanent settlement. After permanent settlement 1793. In brackets PS 1793 कोड हम आगे यूज करेंगे फ्यूचर में. PS 1793 after permanent settlement 1793. Permanent settlement 1793. Plus Madras Torture Commission report 1855. Madras Torture Commission report. Madras Torture Commission report 1855. Gave relief. Torture Commission, Madras Torture Commission report 1855 gave relief to ryots. Gave relief to ryots in the form of proper field surveys were done now. Land revenue was reduced. Right, operation of the Mirasidar was cut down. So we'll discuss when we discuss the different Ryotwari settlement. जब discuss करें तो वहाँ पे details discuss करेंगे. हाँ? Because that particular issue, the torture that was taking place by an entity called Mirasidars, it was taking place in Madras. So grievance वहीं से related था. So here we are simply saying that Madras did not participate. One of the reason is that just 2 years before 1857 vote or 1.5 years before 1857 vote, British are taking some corrective measure in the form of Madras Torture Commission report. ठीक है, तो focus is there. जब हम Ryotwari discuss करेंगे तब आएगा और आएगा दोबारा. ठीक है. Plus Western educated Indians, plus Western educated Indians, Western educated middle class, plus Western educated middle class gained from, Western educated middle class gained from jobs created by British rule. Western educated middle class gained from jobs created by British rule. Gained from jobs created by British rule. And they believed that British rule will modernize India. And they believed that British rule will modernize India. And they believed that British rule will modernize India. British rule will modernize India. Plus rulers who didn't lose kingdoms, rulers who didn't lose kingdom, rulers who didn't lose kingdom did not support. Rulers who didn't lose kingdom did not support. Plus तालुकदार्स who didn't lose estates. सारे ही यार, सारे समझ लो. हैदराबाद कहाँ सपोर्ट कर रहा है? ठीक है. रूलर्स who didn't lose kingdoms didn't support. Plus, talukdars who didn't lose estates didn't support. Talukdars who didn't lose estates didn't support. Didn't support. सिंधिया, गायकवाड़, भोसले, ये सब लोग कहाँ सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं? ठीक है. प्लस होल इंडियन आर्मी डिडंट रिवोल्ट. होल इंडियन आर्मी डिडंट रिवोल्ट. प्लस होल इंडियन आर्मी डिडंट रिवोल्ट. होल इंडियन आर्मी डिडंट रिवोल्ट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, नो प्रॉपर प्लानिंग. No proper planning and coordination. No proper planning and coordination. No proper planning and coordination. And revolt was spontaneous. No proper planning and coordination. And revolt was spontaneous. And revolt was spontaneous. And revolt was spontaneous. तो मुझे बताओ, अभी तक तो हमने जितने पॉइंट्स लिखे वो सारे यूनिटी में कवर्ड होंगे. द फर्स्ट पॉइंट दैट वी हैव रिटन दैट गेट कवर्ड इन यूनिटी, ये नहीं पार्टिसिपेट किया, वो नहीं पार्टिसिपेट किया, ऑल ऑफ दैट इज बेसिकली यूनिटी. दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट दैट देयर वाज नो प्रॉपर प्लानिंग एंड कोऑर्डिनेशन, दिस विल फॉल अंडर विच? लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी और फ्रेटर्निटी. दिस विल फॉल अंडर फ्रेटर्निटी. व्हाई? ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिख लो फ्रेटर्निटी, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखो, स्टार लगा लिखो फ्रेटर्निटी. This is a weak point with respect to fraternity. Only when we are united, only then we will, our leaders will sit together at a place and do planning कि आगे करना क्या है. Only then they will coordinate. Without unity, there cannot be any coordination. If a football team is there, football match is going on, if that football team is united, only then there will be, coach will be doing planning before the match. Right? On the field also there will be coordination. ये pass मारा, वो goal मारा. Right? There has to be unity. So it is part of fraternity. Right? So lack of proper coordination, it is part of fraternity. So therefore that is missing. Next point. No modern alternative. No modern alternative. No modern alternative. No modern alternative in form of polity. Alternative. Modern. नया, MODERN, modern. No modern alternative in form of democracy. In form of democracy. As goal was to restore feudal political order. As goal was to restore feudal political order. Goal was to restore feudal political order. That is rule of monarchs. That is rule of monarchs. इन ब्राइट स्टार लगा के किस में फॉल करेगा ये? लिबर्टी. राइट? लिबर्टी. ब्राइट स्टार लगा के लिबर्टी वाले पैरामीटर पे इट इज फेलिंग. राइट? हाउएवर, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, हाउएवर, comma, yes, modern nationalism was absent. Yes, modern nationalism was absent. Yes, modern nationalism was absent. But, yes, modern nationalism was absent, but, first subpoint. Common enemy was there. Common enemy was there. ये किस में फॉल करेगा? यूनिटी. इफ यू फाइन, तेरी मेरे से अच्छे से बात नहीं होती, ठीक, आई डोंट नो यू, यू जस्ट केम टू कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, आई ऑल्सो जस्ट केम टू कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, राइट, बट एंड बाई चांस वी आर लिविंग इन अ सेम रूम ऑल्सो, राइट, नेसेसिटी, द लैंडलॉर्ड is oppressing both of us. So because we have a common enemy in the form of landlord, we are fighting together. कि चल जाके इसकी पुलिस पे कंप्लेंट करके आते हैं, बहुत दिमाग खराब कर रहा है, right? So therefore when you have a common enemy, even when you do not have a bond between you, let's say, imagine करते हैं, if there is a common enemy, are you not united? Having a common enemy is also united. Avengers, multiple superheroes fighting the common enemy together. Thanos, चुटकी बजाई जा रहे Thanos, right? All of you are Spider-Man, etc. fighting together. Unity, right? So that is why. So some common enemy is bringing them together. Common enemy was there. Plus common hatred against disruptions. Common hatred against disruptions. Common hatred against disruptions brought by British rule. Common hatred against disruptions brought by British rules. Brought by British rule. In brackets, star लगा के. Look at reasons of 1857 revolt. So what are the disruptions which are brought by the British rule? जो भी हमने reason लिखे, high land revenue, loss of land, political annexations, all of these are disruptions which are brought by the threat to our religion, right? All of these are disruptions which are brought by the British rule in the domain of polity, economy, society, religion, right? So everyone is angry at these common disruptions which are present, right? Therefore all agreed that British rule was immoral. All agreed that British rule was immoral. All agreed that British rule was immoral. And common goal of restoring moral order disturbed by British. That is restore pre-British way of life. Political, economic, social. Pre-British way of life dash political, economic, social. Next, common fear of religion under threat. Next, Hindu-Muslim unity was there. With belief that Hindustan is for Hindus and Muslims. Hindustan is for Hindus and Muslims. Next, all agreed that capital should be Delhi. And Zafar as emperor. All agreed that capital should be Delhi and Zafar emperor. Next, rebels did not desire 17th century C लिख लो बस 17th century centralized rule. But 18th century decentralized setup. With provincial autonomy. That is, provincial autonomy का क्या मतलब है? That is, polity चल रहा ना? Polity. That is weak Mughal emperor
that is weak Mughal emperor with real power at province level, with real power at province level, with real power at province level, therefore desired a form of federalism, therefore desired a form of federalism, therefore desired a form of federalism. ये हमारा डिफेंस क्या है, इन ब्रैकेट्स डाला कर लिखिए, @ democracy. Democracy is all about devolution of power. So they are saying that you are supporting monarchy. We are saying we are supporting monarchy but not absolute monarchy. We are in support of devolution of power at least at the province level. तो थोड़ा सा हम अपने आप को डिफेंड कर सकते हैं ये कह के कि हम औरंगजेब का शासन नहीं चाहते थे. We did not want rule of Aurangzeb. We wanted post 1707 kind of a setup where power is decentralized. बस एक दो और लाइन रह गई है. Write down. This time rebels wanted British out of Hindustan, and not just out of Hindustan, and not just from their area, not just from their area. Next, first time communication between regional leaders. First time communication between regional leaders. Next, Sepoy's declaration at Delhi. Went beyond. Sepoy's declaration at Delhi went beyond their selfish grievances. First sub point. So what we are trying to say here, we are simply trying to say here that see, if the sepoys are revolting only because their salaries are low, then it is a selfish revolt. But if the sepoys are revolting because of pain of my other brothers, then it is much more than a simple sepoy mutiny, then it is nationalistic revolt. When a peasant is crying for a worker, when a peasant is crying for a factory owner, then it is fraternity. If a peasant is crying only for his high land revenue, then it is selfish. So if the sepoy, when they are coming to Delhi and they are declaring that why are we revolting, and there they are talking not just about their grievances but grievances of all other sections of the Indian society, then it is nothing but our declaration of independence. Like United States of America, the 13 colonies, they gave a declaration of independence. So this is in a way our declaration of independence, right? First sub point, high LR. क्या क्या कंप्लेंट किया उन्होंने, क्यों बताया, मतलब वाई आर वी रिवोल्टिंग, उन्होंने कहा हाई LR प्लस इंक्रीज इन चौकीदारी टैक्स, हाई LR प्लस इंक्रीज इन चौकीदारी टैक्स. चौकीदारी टैक्स वॉज इन ब्रैकेट्स लिखिए फॉर पेमेंट टू विलेज वॉचमैन, आई एम सॉरी द क्लास इज गेटिंग एक्सटेंडेड. Village watchman, payment to village watchman, brackets closed. So this tax was levied for payment to village watchman, plus unemployment of artisans and learned men, plus high toll tax on public roads, plus decrease in status of ruling class, decrease in status of ruling class. Therefore, sepoys were fighting for all Indians. Therefore, sepoys were fighting for all Indians. Last paragraph. Therefore, sepoys, and this is our biggest defense. Therefore, sepoys were fighting for all Indians. Right? My apology again for extension of time. ठीक है, but इसको ये वाला पूरा कर लेते हैं बस. Last paragraph, and this is our biggest defense. And what is the biggest defense? If nation is summation of people who feel one, that means nation is masses. And in an agricultural society, who will be masses? Peasants. Right? So therefore, if the initiative was of peasant, then it is initiative of masses. Then it is initiative of nation. So fine, whole of India did not participate, but jitno ne bhi participate kiya, there it was led by the common man. That means it was led by nation. Therefore, it was it is coming closer to nationalist revolt. Example: Bahadur Shah Zafar was not ready to take leadership. Gun was put onto his head that you become our leader or not. Similarly, initially, Jhansi ki Rani was also coerced. Initially, later she went on to become a martyr. Nana Sahib was initially coerced that you take up our leadership or not. We want a leader. Right? So whose initiative it is there? Of the common man. Biggest initiative was of sepoy. And who is sepoy? Peasant in uniform. That means sepoy is also equal to peasant. That means initiative is of peasant. In agrarian society, peasant are masses. That is nation. Right? In many of the cases, even when talukdar surrendered, still the followers, they are like, ठीक है, तू जा, अब हम अकेले लड़ लेंगे. That is, even when talukdar is surrendering, the people, that is the peasants, they continue to fight. That means people were using these leaders, and therefore initiative was of people, nation. So just one last paragraph. It was a movement of masses and not of elites. It was a movement of masses, not of elites. It was a movement of masses, not of elites. Dash. Elites forced to take up leadership. Elites forced to take up leadership. It was a movement of masses, not of elites. Dash. Elites forced to take up leadership. In many cases, example. In many cases, example. Zafar, Nana Sahib. Zafar, Nana Sahib, Lakshmi Bai. Zafar, Nana Sahib, Lakshmi Bai. Therefore, initiative was of common man. Zafar, Nana Sahib, Lakshmi Bai. Therefore, initiative was of common man. Plus, in many cases, peasants and artisans, plus in many cases, peasants and artisans continued fighting. In many cases, peasants, artisans continued fighting despite surrender by talukdar. In many cases, peasants, artisans continued fighting despite surrender by talukdar. True last point. Main initiative was of sepoy. Main initiative was of sepoy. Main initiative was of sepoy, who was a peasant in uniform. Main initiative was of sepoy, who was a peasant in uniform, who now removed his uniform to be peasant again. Main initiative was of sepoy, who was peasant in uniform, who now removed uniform to be peasant again. Who now removed uniform to be peasant again. Therefore, main initiative was of peasants. Therefore, main initiative was of peasants, who are masses in an agrarian society. Who are masses in an agrarian society. Who are masses in an agrarian society. Main initiative was of peasants who are masses in an agrarian society. We'll discuss impact of 1857 revolt in the next class. We'll discuss impact of 1857 revolt in the next class.